And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Toda versus Fisher. Step forward, please.
Tammy and Stephen Toda are suing their daughter's ex-fiancé, 21-year-old security guard Alan Fisher, for half the cost of a wedding that never happened.
Mr. Fisher, who is this person?
My wife.
Is there any reason that she's here?
Because I want her to be with me.
Wanted to be with you.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Toda, this is your daughter, I assume. Your daughter and the defendant were engaged to be married. And according to your complaint, you secured a place and invited 200 guests. And the defendant came to you just shortly before the wedding and said he didn't want to get married.
Right.
You're not looking for that money from Mr. Fisher. You're just looking for certain expenses, a couple of $100, really because you're angry.
Yes.
When was the wedding supposed to take place?
June 21st.
Is that correct so far, Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
When did you marry your wife?
September 4th.
When did you meet her?
I've known her for 4 years.
When did you start seeing her romantically?
We've been seeing each other on and off for like 3 years.
Did Miss Toda know about that?
Nope.
Well, that wasn't fair, was it?
Not really.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tammy and Stephen Toda claim their daughter's ex-fiancé, Alan Fisher, called off the wedding at the last second.
I would ordinarily say to Mr. and Mrs. Toda, good riddance to him.
Yes.
He is dishonest, dishonorable, sleazy, and your daughter is better off without him.
Yes, she is.
But I'm not prepared at this point to make it so easy for Mr. Fisher. He's entitled to change his mind about getting married. You are entitled to that, Mr. Fisher. You're entitled to wake up one morning, Mr. Fisher, and say, I think I've made a mistake. I don't think that, what's your first name? Beth?
Beth.
I don't think Beth and I are right for each other. We've been together a long time, but I don't think we're right for each other. And before I make a big mistake, for both of us, I have to call off the wedding. You're entitled to do that, right?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
What you're not entitled to do is to be a sleazebag and to have somebody else on the side for years while these people are in good faith planning a wedding and spending money that you're involved with. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's almost like fraud. Wouldn't you say so?
No.
What would you say?
Things wasn't working out. And she knew that. We fought a lot. I told her that I wasn't ready.
You had somebody else, sir.
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell her that.
She knew.
She did. You just told me 2 seconds ago that she didn't know.
She had to have known. How can you not?
Is what you're telling me that Beth knew that you had a relation? What's your first name?
Candy.
That Beth knew that you had a relationship with Candy.
She had to have.
What information that you imparted to her would lead her to suspect that you were intimate with someone else? Tell me.
I mean, we never spent time together, really. We didn't talk or nothing. She had to have known.
You mean?
Always come up with excuses of why I couldn't come see her and that.
So what you're telling me is, I'm going to enjoy this. I didn't think this was just cut and dry,
Yeah,
but
when
you
you
know.
live with
Shh, quiet. This is going to be better than your $200. I want you to trust me on this one. You mean you would make up excuses to her why you couldn't see her? Is that what you just said to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me an excuse.
She wanted me to come see her. I told her I had to work.
And when you said, I have to work, you had a job. When you
Right.
told her I have to work, you had a job at the time.
Right.
So what was it that you said that would lead her to suspect that you were lying?
Nothing, really. Just told her that I had to work.
Mr. and Mrs. Toda, you're not entitled to any money from him. You planned this wedding. He was not to participate in the cost of the wedding. So there's no basis for your lawsuit. But I want you to feel good about this, Beth, because you found out in time that the man that you were going to invest your life with had a bad character. Now, you can change a lot of things in this world. You can change your nose, you can change your hairstyle, you can change your hair color. The one thing that you can't change is if you have a bad character. He and Candy can deal with his character. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to look at you for a second. Do you see how easily he said he lied to Beth?
Yes.
I'd watch my back if I were you. The case is dismissed, that's all.
This is case number 235 on the calendar in the matter of Nieves versus Joyle. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in yonder. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Nieves, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $160 for rent.
That's correct.
He called you, he needed some money for rent. He was a friend of yours, off and on boyfriend, so you loaned him the money. That was in what month?
July.
And he hasn't paid you
Not
back.
true. I never called her.
The defendant says that, yes, you did in fact give him $160 for rent. That $160 was a gift, and he never agreed to pay you back. You gave it to him because you were a nice person, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he has a counterclaim. Mr. Joyelle says that you threw his keys in a field.
Cow field.
What?
A cow field.
In a cow field. As a result of which, he couldn't find his car keys, he couldn't get to work, he was docked pay, and ultimately lost his job. So he is counterclaiming for $400. So I'm going to deal with his counterclaim first.
Okay.
When was this incident with the car keys?
Like May 30th or something like that. I got
May 30th of this year,
Yes, ma'am.
before the rent.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't have money for the rent, because Roger claims my keys into a cow field. I didn't lose my job. I don't know where that came from, but I got written up. I have the slip where I got written up, and I couldn't work for a week. I lost 40 hours.
Why couldn't you work?
I got suspended.
Okay, May the 30th. Tell me what happened on that day, Mr. Joyelle.
Well, we were out.
Paper down, it's making me nervous.
We were at this bar, and she had happened to walk in, and I was with this other girl. She gave me kind of like the evil eye, you know what I mean, from across the room. So the next morning, she comes to my house, and she starts yapping about how I got to show her some respect and this and that. But she's not my girlfriend, you know. We just, every now and then, we'll hang around. And my keys are on the patio table. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. I'm taking off. She goes, you ain't going nowhere. And that's when I chucked my keys right into the damn cow field. And couldn't get into work because I had no keys. And there's bulls in that field.
How far from your house did you work?
I don't know.
10 minutes.
About 10 minutes, half an hour by bus. But the way this bus schedule goes, I had to be in work at 5, and I wouldn't get there until like 5:15, 5:30.
You have to take an earlier bus.
Well, if she wouldn't have threw my keys inside the cow field, I wouldn't have to take a bus, right?
But you'd have to take an earlier bus if you
Well,
wanted
yeah,
to
well,
get
I
to
did.
work.
Well, I took the bus.
Good, oh good. Now,
That's how I
after
got
May
to work.
30th with the cow field and the key, by the way, did you finally find your keys?
Yeah, it took me about 6 days.
Okay, but you finally found them.
Yes, ma'am.
But you had plenty of time because you weren't going to work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you see Miss Nieves between May 30th and the date in July when she gave you this money?
Yeah, I seen her around.
Did you have dinner with her?
Nah.
Were you ever alone with her?
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
What does that mean?
Well, you know, it's like casual kind of thing. Sometimes we hang out, sometimes we don't. But I'm almost positive we hung out.
I mean alone.
Yeah.
Not at the bar.
Yeah,
Now, when
alone.
you hung out alone with her, where did you hang out?
At the bar and then probably back at her house.
Did you ever hang out with her at your house alone?
Yeah.
Between May 30th and July when she gave you the money?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, tell me about the conversation that you had with Miss Nieves about your need for money for rent. Where were you when you had this discussion about July's rent?
We were at, actually, we were at one of my friend's house after the bar. We didn't discuss my rent. I'm just like, oh, you know, I gotta go home. I gotta deal with this. I don't have my money for the rent. She's like, I'm financially secure this month or something like that. She goes, I'd like to help you out. I'm like, cool. That was it. And the only time she bring up that I owed her money is because when I was she seen me with this other girl. I started seeing this other girl, and that's when all this came about.
Yes, go ahead.
That story has more BS than the cow fields he's referring to. First of all, I don't know anything about keys. As a matter of fact, I remember...
I'm not interested in the keys.
Okay,
His
well...
countersuit is...
Okay.
Pay careful attention to me. His counterclaim is nonsense. Because if he was truly concerned, angry, felt as if you had done something that caused him to be suspended, then he wouldn't have seen you between May 30th and July. And he would have sued you, which he didn't. And he wouldn't have taken money from you, whether a gift or a loan. So I'm dismissing your counter.
So why wouldn't I take the money from
Listen
her?
to me. I'm dismissing your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get to your version of how it came about that you parted with $160.
I left work one afternoon, I checked my cell phone, and I got 2 messages from the defendant. When I got home, I realized that he left another 2 messages. When I returned his call, he asked for a favor. When I asked what it was, he said that he needed to borrow some money to pay his rent.
I never said
and of
that.
Course,
that's a lie.
And of course, I was hesitant to do so. But he continued to say that his brother was going to give him the money that Friday. And I told him that I would loan him the money only under the condition that his brother was paying him and he would pay me with that money.
Okay. What date did you actually hand him the money?
July 21st. I have a photocopy of the ATM receipt.
And when did you ask him for the money back?
That Friday, July 25th.
Well, he said he was going to get money, according to you, on Friday.
Well, yes, he was going to get money from his brother, which in turn he was going to give it to me. So,
Not the truth. I never mentioned my... She's lying.
So Friday came and went. He never called me. That Saturday, I went down to the restaurant where he works. I told him I was very disappointed that I didn't hear from him. He said that he had to pull some double shift or something and he didn't have time, that he was planning to call me. I asked when I was going to get paid. He asked me to return to the restaurant that evening at closing time, and he could only pay me $50 at that time. And I was a little upset because that wasn't our agreement. I left. I came back at closing time. I asked a coworker to let him know that I was there, and I found out that he already left the premises. So I let things go, let things cool down. I waited a couple of weeks or so. Well, one Thursday, which was, I believe, was August 7th, I was with a girlfriend. We went to the restaurant, and I asked him at that point, when he was planning to pay me back. He was avoiding me by, busting the tables and just walking away from me, and I was getting really frustrated at that
full
point.
Of dishes. How am I avoiding you?
Miss Joyelle, one person talks at a time.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So anyway, he avoided me, and I said, I want to know when I'm going to get paid. He said, well, why don't you stop by my house that Sunday? And I said, well, what's going to happen on Sunday? And he became really irritated, and he said, just stop by my house. I said, I want to know what's going to happen on Sunday. And he said, just leave me alone, or I'll have you thrown out of the restaurant. And that's pretty much all of it in a nutshell.
First of all, she's lying, okay? Because this is the guy she said, the co-worker that she was talking about.
No, that wasn't him.
That's him. What the
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know her. If there was the money, I'd assume that she'd probably be like, when he's going to give me this money or something.
Sit down.
And later today,
Somebody told her that there was a dent in her car, and she didn't go downstairs to look at it.
No.
Is everything that you've told me as truthful as the fact that you don't drive this uninsured car?
Yes, Your Honor.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Madeline Nieves says former friend Stephen Joyle owes for an unpaid loan for rent. Stephen says Madeline flipped out when she saw him with another woman.
What is she lying about, sir?
There was never nothing about paying back. She knew that I was low on rent, and she said she'd like to help me out. So I was like, okay. And she had took me on trips before, take me out, got me loaded, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So she took me to Martha's Vineyard. She took me to
Martha's Vineyard?
I'm not
Miss Nieves, don't interrupt him.
Right.
The only reason why she's saying that I owe her money is because she's all upset because I'm with this other chick, and that's it.
How old are you?
She never said nothing about money or anything like that.
How old are you?
Huh?
This is not a hard question. They get harder.
How old am I? 29.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waiter and busser and bar back at a house.
That is a 3-meal-a-day restaurant?
Restaurant, bar, comedy show. Maybe stop by sometime. I know you live in Connecticut.
What?
Nothing. I said maybe you might want to stop by. I'll hook you up. Free comedy show.
What an idiot. Miss Nieves, how old are you?
I'm 35. Can you please ask his witness about the evening that I went to the restaurant to ask for the money the first time, the same evening that he asked me to return, and he wasn't there? The witness there, Josh, was at the restaurant, and I asked if he's seen him, and he said no.
What day was that? Was that
That
Friday?
was July 26th.
Josh, up here, up here. What do you do at the restaurant?
I am a server at the restaurant.
You don't want to offer me a free night out, do you?
No.
Josh, that's a very wise idea.
Thank you.
But I want you to listen to me very carefully because my question's really not hard. Do you recall Miss Nieves coming into the restaurant to inquire about the whereabouts of Mr. Joyelle and her money?
She never mentioned money at all.
What did she say?
She came in, she was like, is Steve here? Steve had gotten off probably like a half hour before she had arrived at the restaurant.
Okay.
She never said anything about money.
To you? She didn't say anything to you
Nope.
about money?
But I've known her for about 6 months, so she's an acquaintance through Steve. I've been over to her house as well with Steve. I know her. So if there was the money, I'd assume that she'd probably be like, you know when he's going to give me this money or something to the sort.
Was I angry?
Sit down.
I just got booted.
Mr. Joyelle, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Excuse me?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know.
Have you thought about it?
No.
Your life is half over.
Hey, take it easy.
No. Life's half over. You got to think about what you want to be. One thing you don't want to be is you don't want to be a bum.
Yeah, that's true.
Too late, Your Honor.
Miss Nieves, you're going to talk yourself into a dismissal. Do you understand?
I understand.
Fresh mouths don't go here. I don't care what side of the bench
I
you're on.
apologize.
The only one who's allowed to have a fresh mouth is me. Men who are bums take money from women who like them and who they have no feelings for because they're users. That makes a man a bum. Do you understand?
Sure.
You don't want to be a bum, do you?
I'm not a bum.
You don't want to be a bum, do you?
Nope.
Good. Then you're going to give Miss Nieves back $160 and you will walk away from this relationship with your head held high and say, she helped me out, but I'm going to do the right thing, and the right thing is to pay her back. That way she doesn't have any hard feelings, and I'm going to be a man instead of a bum. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. That's all. And you two can leave, Josh.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I guess the judge didn't believe what I was saying. I think maybe asking her to go to the comedy show was kind of a wrong move.
I guess the judge can identify a liar when she hears one.
You never try to be funny in front of Judge Judy. That don't work.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Scarfuto versus Mahoney, step forward.
20-year-old student Courtney Scarfuto is suing her boyfriend's roommate, 20-year-old florist Lacey Mahoney, for backing into her car.
Miss Scarfuto, is your boyfriend here? Where is he?
He's right here.
Was this your roommate?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still your roommate?
Yes.
Okay, according to your complaint, you were over at your boyfriend's home and you claimed that the defendant hit your car as she was pulling out of the driveway. Your insurance paid for the damage to your car, but you suffered out-of-pocket expenses, $500 deductible, you had to rent a car for a couple of days while they fixed it, and you also want her to be responsible for the increased insurance premiums that you're going to have to pay. Forget that part of it. Miss Mahoney says she never hit your car. When was your car damaged?
June 10th, 2003.
And what makes you think Miss Mahoney did it?
She came upstairs, asked me to move my car. I asked Christian to move my car for me. He went downstairs.
With her?
Correct. At that time, she told him that she had hit my car.
Oh, you weren't there?
No.
Step up. Last name?
Whiteley.
Okay, let's go to June 10th. Miss Mahoney comes upstairs where you are, and she said what to you?
She pointed out the damage. She said that she had hit the car and that she was unsure whether or not that she should stay there and admit to the mistake or whether she should go ahead and pull around the car and just simply leave.
And what did you tell her?
I told her that it would be best for her to go back upstairs and to notify my girlfriend, Your Honor.
And she said?
After hesitation, she agreed and we went back upstairs.
And what happened when you got upstairs?
Me and Lacey basically reported that the car had got hit by her, even though it was parked. We all agreed that we would go ahead and handle the situation by tomorrow because we're good friends, Your Honor.
And can I speak? And because she did not carry car insurance. And so since she did not carry car insurance, that
How do you not have insurance? How do you drive without insurance?
Your Honor, I wasn't driving. I was actually moving my car backwards so that we could open up the garage door. But it was on my property in my driveway. I was just moving it.
That's driving. Why doesn't your car have insurance?
Because I couldn't afford insurance at the time.
So you're not driving at all? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I'm not driving at all.
Is that true?
No.
Of course not. They seem to say that you admitted hitting her car.
Your Honor, I never admitted to hitting her car. I went downstairs for Christian to move the car. We both went downstairs. And he noticed the dent and asked if I had done it, and I said no. We went back upstairs, and he told her that there was a dent in her car, and nothing was said for the rest of the night.
That doesn't sound right to me. Somebody told her that there was a dent in her car, and she didn't go downstairs to look at it?
No.
Nobody said anything? Well, who did it? Is everything that you've told me, Miss Mahoney, as truthful as the fact that you don't drive this uninsured car?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't drive my car because it's uninsured and because it's unregistered.
No, you shouldn't drive your car because it's uninsured and not registered. That doesn't mean you don't drive it. Okay. You had a $500 deductible?
Yes, would you like to see the receipt?
You have any other witnesses that you want
Yes,
to hear?
I do. I have Mr. Nicholas Scandalius. He actually heard her say, he was in the room with both Christian and I.
Oh, step up.
And she actually came up and said, I hit your car.
Are you another roommate?
No, I'm a very close friend of Mr. Whiteley's. I'm his best friend. I happened to be there at the night that the incident occurred.
Tell me what you remember.
All three of us were hanging out upstairs. Courtney asked Christian to move the car so Lacey could back out and leave. They both went down.
Back out and leave. Where was she going?
I have no idea.
Do you know where she was going?
I believe that she was just going to go to Huntington Beach like usual.
Go ahead.
So they both went downstairs to move the cars and whatnot. Lacey's car was directly in front of Miss Scarfuto's car in a driveway, so there's no way she could have left to right or anything. They promptly both came back upstairs very quickly, and Lacey said, "Oh my God, Courtney, I hit your car." I walked over to the windows, I saw a little dent in the hood, and Lacey's car was still behind Miss Scarfuto's car. That's what I saw, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Sit down. I see the deductible, please, and the damage to the car.
And then these photographs are Lacey's car with the spare tire, which damaged my hood. Pictures of my hood with the imprint of her spare tire, as well as the driveway.
How long did it take to fix the car?
It took 10 days times $23.99.
So between the $500 deductible and the rental car for the days that it took to fix your car, it was $922. What else?
I'm requesting the money that the insurance paid as well, because I do not believe that Lacey should benefit from the insurance that I pay every month.
Baloney.
Okay.
That's what insurance is for. Ms. Scarfuto. What?
I didn't hit the car.
Yes,
and
you did.
honestly,
Yes, you did.
no.
You didn't hit the car and you weren't going to leave in your car.
No, I was
You were
not.
just moving it.
No.
And
I
you,
believe,
and you don't drive your car ever
no.
because it's not registered and you have no insurance.
Yes.
I don't believe you. Can you think of any reason why these two people and this gentleman would lie?
Courtney has been jealous of me and Christian's
I don't want to hear her
relationship.
jealous. Him.
Because
Explain that to me.
Christian is Courtney's boyfriend.
Right.
And Courtney throws a fit when she doesn't get her way.
And what about him?
Nick is Christian's best friend. And
So everybody's ganging up against you.
yeah.
Sorry. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $922. Thank you. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Step out.
Ladies and yes, case number 255 on the calendar in the matter of Connolly versus White. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Thaddeus, is that right?
Yes.
How old are you, Thaddeus?
I'm 26.
So you were 25 when you rented this hotel room and vandalized it, is that right?
That is correct.
What kind of work do you do, Thaddeus?
I'm a cook.
How long have you been a cook at the place where you're currently employed?
I'm not employed at this moment, actually.
So you do nothing?
No. I'm a little injured right now. I can't work.
What's the nature of your injury?
Well, because I work with my hands, I got a dislocated finger. I can't.
How long
do
have you had a
anything with stuff.
dislocated finger?
About a week and a half, 2 weeks.
And prior to that, where were you working, Thaddeus?
I was working at Sylvester's in Los Osos, California.
Could you stand still?
Oh, yeah.
According to Ms. Connolly's complaint, this is what this case is about. Bert, I want you to pay careful attention. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible so Thaddeus can understand what the case is about, okay?
Okey doke.
Thaddeus, another woman, and Miss Connolly were in a hotel room. Mr. White, that's Thaddeus over here, he had rented the hotel room. They all got splash drunk and wrecked the hotel room. Now, Miss Connolly was 17 years old at the time, but Mr. Thaddeus White and the other young lady were over the age of 18. They were, in fact, arrested.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. White,
Sorry.
Mr. White asked Miss Connolly if she could help out because the hotel was prepared to drop the charges if the people who done vandalized the property paid for it.
Oh,
Got it?
sounds good.
Mr. White, despite the fact that he had more years, less brains, but more years than the other two, he said to Miss Connolly, I will give you back the money, half of it, and the other lady, what was her name?
Her name is Vanessa.
Vanessa is going to give you back the other half. So Miss Connolly said, well, I was there too, and I wasn't arrested because I was only 17. They let me off the hook. Miss Connolly said, I'm going to cash in all the money I have in the world, a CD, so that I can give you the money so we can pay off the hotel, and then it'll all be neat. So far, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Mr. White paid back
I
how
gave
much?
$400.
Leaving how much on the debt to Miss Connolly?
$1,200.
Is that right, Miss Connolly?
Yes, at the time it was correct.
But then Vanessa, the elusive Vanessa, left the jurisdiction. So Miss Connolly said to Thaddeus, well, she left the jurisdiction, you got to pay her half too, right?
That is true.
Mr. White said, well, if that's what you have to say, I'm not paying anything. I'm not paying the $1,200 that I owe you, or I'm not paying her money either. Isn't that what you said?
Pretty much.
Now, just a couple of background questions so that I understand the nature of your stupidity.
Okay.
You rented this room when?
Around June 2nd.
What did you rent it for, Thaddeus?
To stay in a couple days as if between moving.
So you needed a place to stay?
Yeah.
And was this a hotel or a motel?
Yeah.
It's hotel.
Hotel.
Only your finger was injured, is that right?
Well, as far as I know. Did have a terrible skateboarding accident, kind of hit my face. I could have done some damage.
Okay. So you rented the hotel, motel to stay in. You stayed there for a couple of days. When did you invite Miss Connolly and Vanessa to join you?
Actually, she came with one of my co-workers that I worked with at Pizza Port.
Who provided the alcohol?
I provided my own alcohol. She came with alcohol herself.
No, I didn't.
You did.
Shh. Anyway, everybody got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And you vandalized the hotel?
Yes, we did.
Any particular reason for that?
Drunken stupidity, I guess.
Well, that's honest. Where do you live now?
I live in Morro Bay, California.
With whom?
My parents.
How long have you lived with your parents?
I just moved back to Morro Bay in April.
They must be thrilled.
Oh, they love me. What can I say?
When did you make your first payment, Thaddeus?
I think it was on the first paycheck I got from my work.
Why did you stop making payments, Thaddeus?
I never knew how to get a hold of her.
I came into your work like every single day.
Look,
No, you
don't
didn't.
talk to him, talk to me.
Well, I went into his work.
Every
because
time I
my
had the money,
boyfriend
she was
at the
never
time-
around.
You didn't have
Don't talk
any.
to him.
Thad didn't have any identification, so he couldn't even go to the bank and cash his checks. So he had to go to the bank with his boss, and it was a big deal. Half the time the bank wouldn't cash it. It's not my responsibility that he has no identification and he can't go about getting money. So every time I went in, he's like, oh, hold
He's
on.
25?
Yes.
And he doesn't have any money?
Oh no, I lost my wallet and I didn't have ID to cash my checks with.
What ID did you have in your wallet?
My California identification card?
How long were you without it?
I don't know. Close to 6 months?
Do you have a driver's license?
Not at the moment.
Why not?
A little trouble.
What kind of trouble?
I got a DUI a while ago.
When?
I'm not really sure. It was a long time ago.
That's why they took away your driver's license, Thaddeus? Because you had one DUI?
Yep, that's right.
No, Thaddeus, that's not right. I think you forgot something. You left out a couple of pieces to the puzzle.
No.
Did you go for classes?
Oh yeah, I did most of the classes. Then I moved.
Well, that's
and
the problem. You did most of the classes.
I didn't.
We have
that's
to
why I
do-
can't get my license back
You
right
have
now.
to do all the classes, Thaddeus.
Yeah, I know.
Your parents must be thrilled having you home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
What happened to the car, Jennifer?
Andrew had been talking to his father, and his father decided that he shouldn't be driving. There was some snow on the road. It was pretty much dry.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Darlene Connolly says former friend Thad White owes for trashing a hotel room during a night of partying.
Miss Connolly, he doesn't know you for Vanessa. You have to go find Vanessa. You have to go find Vanessa because I'm not making it easy for you, madam, because you were just as stupid as he was.
Yes.
So you go find Vanessa, but he owes you $1,200. He acknowledges he owes you $1,200. He doesn't owe you Vanessa's share. Go find her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thad started out by
throwing his shoes against the wall.
Cut back on the 151 or something probably.
Then a very large and expensive wooden chair off the third floor balcony.
Pay attention more often when I'm like drinking or whatever.
And then pretty much everything else in the hotel room off the balcony.
But it doesn't really matter. Everything's fine with me.
I was young, stupid, whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Oleksiak Galgan. Step forward, please.
Real estate agent Jeff Johnson is suing 18-year-old Andrew Oleksiak and his girlfriend, 19-year-old nanny Jennifer Galgan, for damage to his vehicle. Jeff says while test driving his car, the couple had a wreck.
Mr. Johnson, son?
Yes, son Gregory.
No. You weren't there the day that your son Gregory gave them the car to test drive, or were you?
I was.
You were?
Yes.
Oh, then that makes it all the better. You want them to pay you, these two people, $5,000 because she had an accident with a car that you and or your son was selling. They came over to take a test drive. He got in the car, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You gave him permission to test drive the car, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
He got around the corner. He gave her permission to get behind the wheel. She had an accident and wrecked the car. Is that what this case is about?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's relatively easy. Give me the date.
February 18th,
What time of the day?
8:30 in the evening.
How did they get to your car? Was there a sign on the car? Or did they know your son?
It was advertised for sale.
And they came over. So you didn't know them prior to this date. Is that right?
I personally did not. My son did.
Oh, step up. First name.
Gregory.
Yours?
Andrew, Your Honor.
How old are you?
17.
And you?
18, Your Honor.
How old were you in February?
17, Your Honor.
First name.
Jennifer.
How old are you, Jennifer?
19.
Were you 18 or 19 in February?
I was 19.
Now, how did you know Andrew?
He had came to see the car prior to the day that that they crashed the car. He had came over to look at the car before that day.
So you didn't know him from school. It was just a business.
No, ma'am.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No.
Did you?
I did not.
That was a big mistake. Because at 17, he's not responsible. You have no case against him. You understand that? Well, if you don't, I'm telling you. He's a minor. And he is shielded by a law that says minors are not responsible for what they do. You know that?
Yes, I do.
Then if you know that, why did you sue him?
I think there was a fraud that was created when he allowed Jennifer to drive the vehicle. He had driven the vehicle once prior and had proven that he was capable of driving the vehicle. And then he somehow, in a period of 9 residential households, decided he shouldn't be driving a car without a driver's license and turned the keys over to his girlfriend.
Let me tell you this. If he was 17, 16, 15 years old and came to your house to buy the car and you gave him permission to drive the car, which you had done before because he test drove the car before, and if he was in an accident in that car and got seriously injured, his mother would sue you. You would be liable. Do you understand that? A minor cannot be held liable for acts such as breach of contract, negligence. He wasn't even negligent. He did something that a kid would do. He said, Jennifer, you can drive the car. Is this your girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor.
But Jennifer's responsible. What happened to the car, Jennifer?
We traded places, and I started
Why did
driving.
you trade places after he let Andrew drive the car?
Because Andrew had been talking to his father, and his father decided that he shouldn't be driving. Andy thought about that, and then there was some snow on the road. It was pretty much dry.
Andy was talking to his father in the car after Mr. Johnson gave him the keys?
No, after the first time that Andy had driven the car, he was talking to his dad.
Okay, just a second. Jennifer, I just want to get it all clear. Andrew took a test drive on the car and then said to you at some point on the 18th of February, I would like to go back and test drive the car again to see if I want to buy it. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
And you said, fine, let's go. You get to the Johnson house and Mr. Johnson is there. Andy says, take the keys, I want to take the car around, I'd like my girlfriend to ride with me. Is that,
Yes, Your
in
Honor.
sum and substance, that's what happened?
Yes.
Now, what I want to know, Jennifer, is when did this epiphany strike Andrew about the conversation that he had had with his father?
Oh, he was thinking about it the whole time. He was worried, but
Well, just a minute. Was he
wasn't
worried
really-
as you... Just a second, Jennifer. Was he worried as you pulled up to Mr. Johnson's house, do you think? Just a second. You think he was worried when he pulled up to Mr. Johnson's house?
I guess.
And was he worried when he took the keys from Mr. Johnson and Mr. Johnson put the keys in his hand and Andy got in the car? Was he worried then?
I guess.
And was he worried when he took the keys and put the keys in the ignition and turned the ignition on and put his foot on the gas?
Yes, but then...
And was he worried when he pulled out of the driveway or away from Mr. Johnson's car and pulled around the block? He was worried?
Yes.
Okay, so this epiphany came to him that he could no longer drive this car as he turned the corner. Is that what happened?
Yes, Your Honor.
The epiphany came to you.
Yes.
You know what an epiphany is?
Not quite, Your Honor.
Stay in school. Okay, so after Andrew had the epiphany, I assume you know what an epiphany is. We give a test later. Andrew said what to you?
He just asked me to drive it. He said he...
What did he say? No, I want to know what he said. He didn't say. He said, "Hon, will you drive the car?" Or, "Listen, I'm going to get out of the car now," or "I just had my epiphany."
He just said, "You know what? There's a little bit of snow on the road. I really don't think I should be driving. Would you please take over for me?"
Why did you get in the car with him in the first place knowing he didn't have a license?
I wasn't really thinking about that.
You hadn't had your epiphany yet. So what happened?
I started driving. It was pretty dark. For the most part, the roads were clear, and then all of a sudden the road was covered in snow. This car started fishtailing, and it hit a tree.
And was it destroyed?
The front end was pretty bad.
What kind of car is this, Mr. Johnson?
This is a Mazda MX-6, 1993.
You have a blue book on the car with the mileage that you had on your car?
I don't have a blue book value, but I have an estimate of the damages.
The car's 10 years old. How many miles did the car have on it?
Car had
75,000.
What were you selling it for?
3,800, I believe.
How much was
We had
the car
agreed.
listed?
We had agreed to 3,800, Your Honor.
Why are you suing for $5,000?
the damage repair was in excess to $5,000. So if they didn't want to finish the transaction, we would have had to repair the car in order to make it saleable again. In its current condition, it's certainly not saleable.
But you agreed to sell it to him for $3,800, so the value of the car to you was $3,800.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Where's the car now?
The car is parked behind a friend's shop and not drivable.
Well, it's not drivable. Maybe Jennifer can drive it. She just bought it for $3,800. Right, Jennifer? It's your fault. You shouldn't have gotten behind the wheel of the car. You shouldn't have been driving with him. He had no license. Now, Mr. Johnson was probably wrong. He should have said to Andrew, Andrew, let me see your driver's license, because I want to make sure you have a valid driver's license and that you're over the age of 18. Should have done that. What?
Your Honor, state of Michigan is a no-fault state. I'm not sure if you're aware of no fault, but in this particular case, Mr. Johnson's car was not insured. It did not have collision or comprehensive insurance. It had what they call personal liability and property damage.
Yes.
And in Michigan, we have the mini tort liability law, which enables somebody to sue for up to only $500, only to cover a deductible in which insurance would pay for. So Mr. Johnson should only be able to get $0 because he was uninsured, Your Honor.
Let me ask you this question, Andrew. Let's talk about common sense. The law is supposed to have a certain common sense to it. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if the law does not have a common sense to it, then it's wrong. Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Yes. Certain laws were enacted at the time of horse and buggies. That's no longer applicable. When was the last time you saw a horse and buggy on the 10 freeway? At the end of a trial, what's supposed to happen is the just and fair thing. You and your girlfriend deprived Mr. Johnson of the ability to sell his car for $3,800 because you were not honest with Mr. Johnson about the fact that you did not have a driver's license. Now, when you went back, according to your girlfriend, you felt a little guilty because you had conned him, because according to your girlfriend, you knew you shouldn't be driving. You knew you didn't have a license, which is the reason why you asked her to drive the car. She also did the wrong thing because you're right around the corner. All you had to do was pull the car over, park it, go back and say, the roads look bad. I don't have a license. I left the car there. I'm sorry. You chose not to do that. You chose to let Jennifer drive the car.
Jeffrey Johnson chose to threaten my entire family to kill us if we didn't pay.
I want you to practice these words when you're in bed at night, when you have a quiet moment. I want you to try practicing these words because I don't think that you've said them often enough in your life at the appropriate time. I'm sorry I did the wrong thing. 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 It was my fault. I'll take responsibility. I want you to practice that. You'll be a much happier adult when you do. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,800 against you, Jennifer. That's all.
Parties argument 74 on the calendar in the matter of Wilder versus Hemley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Wilder, the defendant is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, your mother was relocating to Hawaii. Where had you been living with her?
In Houston.
In Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
So she was going to try a new life in Hawaii. And you and your mother entered into an agreement. According to your complaint, you could use the car that was in her name, on which there was a loan, and you would make the payments on the car. So far correct?
No, ma'am. To our agreement was that we were going to be taking over the payments for the car.
Just a second. You were going to be paying for the car.
Yes.
And if she decided to stay in Hawaii, according to your complaint, then she would turn the car over to you.
No.
Well, let me read what you wrote, Miss Wilder. Your complaint says, my mother and I had a verbal agreement when she moved to Hawaii in October that if she stayed there, she would sign over her 1996 Corsica to me, and I agreed to pick up the payments. That's what you wrote.
Well, she said that she moved there.
I'm just telling you that's what you wrote in your complaint.
Yes.
And as it turns out, your mother did not stay in Hawaii, but she came home. When did she come home?
About a week and a half before March the 1st.
When did she leave?
Right before the 1st of October.
That's not true.
When did you leave?
November 8th. I came back February 23rd.
So she came back, and she took her car back.
Yes.
And you want her to reimburse you for the payments that you made for those 4 months.
Yes.
According to what you wrote here in your complaint, your agreement was that if she decided to stay there, then she would turn the car over. Now what you're telling me is you were going to take over the payments and the car completely when she left Texas. Is that right?
Her residence was going to be in Hawaii. She moved there.
Miss Wild, try listening to what I'm saying to you. According to what you're saying now, when she left Texas for Hawaii, your agreement was that you were going to now own the car.
Yes.
And it would be your car.
Yes.
So why didn't you make the transfer before she left?
Because I couldn't get anything underneath my name. We didn't have enough money to, we had a vehicle in our name, and we still do. But we had problems with it. It was broke down. We agreed that I would take over the payments for the car, so we put a for sale sign on the truck. The truck wasn't really safe. I was fixing to have my second child, and it was more of a family car, so we agreed to take over the payments.
Okay, how much were the payments?
$300 a month.
And what happened when your mother came home?
Well, right before she came home, we had talked, and I asked her what she was going to do for transportation and everything. And she said that as long as I helped her, get a job, for her to have transportation back and forth, that her exact words were she would go around my schedule. I didn't have a problem with that at all. When she came back, she started having this power thing. That's what it was a power thing. She wanted to have the control over the car. And, I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it does.
I worked nights, she worked during the day. It became a problem. She was like, no, I'm having the car, this and that. We started fighting. She threatened to call the police the first time. And then we had a problem again, and the police did get involved.
Okay. Now, according to you, you paid for the car for October, right?
Yes.
November?
Yes.
December?
Yes.
January?
I have a log from the dealership that's from what I paid.
Who wrote, in whose handwriting is this?
That's the
lien holder.
Yes.
You're supposed to pay this on the 1st of the month?
Yes, ma'am.
The 1st and the 15th. It's scheduled for $150 every 2 weeks.
So you didn't make a payment on the 15th of February, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
There was a couple of times when I paid late and everything, but the man from the dealership, he was a friend of ours. He knew that I would pay. He knew that I was taking over the payments, everything.
No, he knew I was going to pay,
just a second.
Carrie.
But you did not make a payment for February. February 15th's payment you did not make.
She didn't make a whole payment the whole month of January.
I paid late. Your Honor.
February 2nd, she made a payment.
Yes, I paid the full amount for all of January. He knew that after
Don't
the
tell me
dealership-
what he knew. Just answer my questions. You did not pay in January.
No.
You say you made up January's payment in February.
Yes.
But then you didn't make February's payment.
Yes, I did. I was only $100
No, you weren't.
behind. Yes, I was.
When I came back, I had to pay the $450 that she didn't pay, so my insurance got canceled because I didn't have enough money to pay the bill.
Was your agreement with your daughter that this car would be hers, period? Or was your agreement with your daughter that if you stayed in Hawaii, the car would be hers?
Her and her boyfriend both. I talked to them, both of them, and I explained to them that you guys can use the car as long as you make the payments on it. If I don't come back from Hawaii, then as soon as the car was paid off, I would sign it over to her lock, stock, and barrel. Well, by February 15th, I knew I was coming back because she was going to have the baby pretty soon. And I told Carrie, as long as you help me get back and forth to work and I can get you back and forth to work, we'll figure out something. Well, it was to the point where neither one of them were showing up to pick me up for work. I would call and call and call and nobody would answer the phone, and I'd have to find other ways
At
to get
7
back to work.
o'clock in the morning
That's
and
right.
everything on a Sunday, on the weekend. She wanted the car, which is understandable, but it was my car. Before she came, her exact words were, she'll go around my schedule.
Just a second. She made the payments. She started to pick up the payments
No.
as soon as she came back. Yes.
Yes.
According to these,
Yes,
according to these,
yes,
according
yes.
to this, according to the dealer, she started to make the payments. So you were not making the payments when she returned from Hawaii.
That's not why she took the car.
That's not what I asked you.
Yeah, but yes, ma'am.
She was making the payments. So the car is in her
took
name,
over.
She was using
and you were using it. Pay attention. Well, the car was parked in your driveway because you just said to me your complaint was that you would ask for the car at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
This is
so you
before
had
the first. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
before what?
She took the car back before the payment was even due. The insurance payment was even due.
I'm not talking about the insurance payment, Miss Wilder. I'm talking about the car payment, which she clearly made. Put your hand down. Which she clearly made before she took the car
No,
back.
ma'am. She paid the payment after she took the car from us.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is true. It is
Because,
true.
Your Honor, I
Don't
even
let
paid-
her
I
sit
even
here and
paid
lie.
her
She took the
electric
car.
bill.
The police called me on the phone. You need to give the keys to your mother. Everything's in her name. Then the payment was due on the car. The insurance, I
What
told
was
her.
the? Just, I'm not talking the insurance. You're hooked into insurance. I'm not talking insurance.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Wilder says her mother, Angela Hemley, owes her for car payments and the money she paid for car insurance.
What date did the police come to your house and remove the car from your house?
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Well, first of all, the
exact
cops didn't go to her house. They came to where I was staying with my brother.
She was
and they
fine.
made a
What
courtesy
date?
call. I don't know the exact date. It was in April.
I had to be at work that night.
And they explained.
You remember that?
Yes.
Was it in April?
No, it was not.
When was it?
Do you know what day it was?
What?
March.
So you say it was in March. Clearly you made no payment in March for the car. And you didn't make the last payment in February, according to your own records.
Yes, it was before March.
No, it wasn't. Miss
The-
Wilder.
the reason why I'm
Miss
saying
Wilder,
this is it was before
listen
the
to me.
first of
Listen
the
to
month.
me. No. No.
Yes,
She says
the
April.
police came.
Boyfriend over here says March, and you don't know whether you're a foot or horseback. Pay attention. You had the use of a car for 3 months. You drove it. You went to work with it.
Yes.
Boyfriend went to work with it.
Yes.
And you paid $300 a month for it.
Yes.
You had no other car because you just told me you sold it.
No, we're still trying to sell it. It has a for sale sign.
Well, then it
Broke
must
down.
be a pretty much of a clinker if you can't sell it.
Well, it's
So
a
you were
one-time.
using this car. You can't use it for nothing. You
Yeah.
couldn't rent a car for $300 a month.
But that's not the agreement that we had.
Yes,
I
it was.
understand
The
that.
agreement that you had was, according to your sworn complaint, my mother and I had an agreement when she moved to Hawaii that if she stayed there, she would sign over her car to us, and I agreed to pick up the payments.
That's on her. She decided to come back. That was her. She got ID, everything, permanent residence.
Pay attention. If she stayed there, she did not stay there, she moved back.
Yes.
According to your mother, and I believe her because it sounds right. Look, I don't know what we're going to do with the car. Let's try to work together with the car. You're expecting a baby. As long as you take me where I have to go and I can get to work on time and I can get to where else I have to go, let's try to work it out. And then, according to your mother, not only weren't you making the payments on the car in a timely fashion, but there was also a problem picking her up and getting her to work. She decided to take the car back, which she did, which she was entitled to do even under your agreement. Your initial agreement, so your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You can't trust anybody, not even your own family.
I just want to see him happy.
This ain't the first thing, but it's the last thing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Douglas versus Whalen. Step forward, please.
29-year-old kitchen designer Rob Douglas is suing his former roommate, 27-year-old pipe coverer Sean Whalen, for intentionally breaking his dog's leg.
Mr. Douglas, according to your complaint, the defendant was a friend of yours and you decided to share an apartment together. You moved into the apartment and you have a small dog.
Yes.
What kind of dog do you have?
It's a dachshund.
It is your complaint that the defendant purposefully caused your dog to have a broken leg. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
When did you move into this apartment together?
February of 2000.
How many people moved into the apartment?
There was 3 of us.
Did you have the dog in February of 2000
Yes, I did.
so that you knew that the dog would be moving
I
in?
knew the dog would be coming in, but I also knew that there wasn't no pets allowed in the apartment.
I just asked you if you knew the dog would be coming in.
All right.
When was the dog's leg broken?
The dog's leg was broken a week before I was moved out in February of 2001.
You weren't at home at the time.
No, I wasn't.
What indication do you have that Mr. Whalen did this act purposefully?
He would tantalize the dog. Whenever the dog came into the room, he would stomp near it. One time he threw a beer can at it. Sean and I got into a fight over that. He had broken the dog's cage.
How did he break the dog's cage?
He stepped on the top of it and put a hole into it.
When did he do that?
I was at work again.
When did I do that?
Shh, don't speak to him.
I was at work. I came home, and the dog's cage, I left it in the kitchen. And I came into the kitchen, and there was a huge hole in the top of it. And I asked Sean what had happened. He said the dog had been barking in the cage, and that he had stomped on the top of the cage and broke it.
You mean to stop the dog from barking?
Right. But in the process, he put a huge hole in it.
Wrong.
And I went out and bought a new cage, and then I started keeping the dog up in my room.
In the cage?
Right.
Now, what happened in February of 2001, sir?
I came home from work, and Sean was laying on the living room couch, and he said, "You better sit down." And I said, "Why?" He's like, "Don't flip out." And I'm like, "What'd you break?" And as the time I was sitting down, the dog came down the stairs, limping, and he jumped up on me, on my lap. And I looked at his leg, and it was like hanging, dangling, and the bone was like coming through the skin. He's like, I brought him to the vets. He said that the dog's leg needed to be wired. It was going to be over $2,000. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I was bringing the dog back up to his cage, and he wiggled out of my arms, and he fell on. I had a saw on the top of my stairs, because I'm a carpenter too. And he said he dropped it on the saw, the dog on the saw.
What time of the day did you leave that day in February?
For work, I left at 8:30 in the morning.
And where was the dog when you left for work?
In his cage in my room.
That's wrong.
Shh! I'm going to get to you. Didn't you understand? What words don't you understand?
All right, I'm all right.
The dog was in the cage when
Yes.
you left. Had you walked the dog that morning?
I let him out the back door. Every morning I would let him out the back door to go to the bathroom, and then I put him up in his cage.
And what time did you return from work that day?
Like 5:30.
So the dog isn't walked between 8:30 and 5:30.
Right. But my other roommate, third roommate, would come home from work at 7:30 in the morning, go to bed, because he worked at night.
Right.
And when he'd get up, he would let the dog out before I got home from work. And then put the dog back in
At
his
what
cage.
time?
Whenever.
Okay. What time did you bring the dog to the vet?
Probably got there around 3 o'clock.
Was that before or after the third roommate woke up?
He wasn't home.
He wasn't home at all?
No.
Okay. And where did you find the dog?
I think he was in the living room,
What was he doing in the living room?
just sitting there. So I was going to bring him up to his cage. I didn't like the dog being out because it would mess in the apartment almost on a daily basis. And I was on my way out again, so I wanted the dog back in his crate. So I brought him up. I was bringing him upstairs, and it squirmed out of my arms. He knew where I was bringing him. He didn't want to go there, probably. Squirmed out of my arms, fell on the saw, made a horrible noise, and then it looked to me like his leg was broken, so I brought him to the vet.
Mr. Whalen, I read your answer very carefully, and it's clear from your answer, sir, that you didn't like this little dog. Could you tell me why?
I didn't like its behavior. It must be over 3 years old. It has not been properly trained. It would just pretty much do whatever it wanted. I've seen the dog on a table eating out of a bowl that I would eat out of, standing up on a table. The thing was untrained. It's not that I didn't like the dog. I didn't like the way it behaved. It should have been taken care of better than it was.
Why did you stomp on the cage?
I didn't stomp on the cage. I kicked it, the metal front.
Right.
I kicked that, and that
Why
was
did
dented.
you kick at it?
Because the thing it was barking. It wouldn't be quiet.
So that's the way you thought you would get it to be quiet?
A little
by kicking it?
intimidation, yeah.
And the beer can incident,
I don't recall that incident.
Well, try to think hard. He seems to remember that you threw a beer can in the dog's direction, and then you had a fight about it. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
What responsibility, Mr. Whalen, do you believe you had with regard to the expenses for taking care of this dog?
None.
Why not?
I was simply bringing it back up to its cage, where it should have been.
Had you ever picked up this dog before?
Yes,
Many times?
many times.
Have you ever put the dog back in its cage before?
Yes, I have.
So the dog has tried to squirm not to go back into the cage before?
Yeah, it has.
When you came home on that day in February, Mr. Whalen, did you look around the house to see if the dog had messed in either your room or around the house?
I didn't look around. I just saw him out, and I brought him upstairs. But it had in the hallway where it usually does. Pretty much the same spot
On
every
that
time.
day?
Yes,
Now, when did you notice that, before or after you picked him up?
after.
And when you walked into the house and you saw the dog just sitting in the living room, were you annoyed that the dog was out of the cage?
Annoyed?
Yeah.
No.
You weren't.
Well, I guess a little bit, but I was going out again, and I wanted to put it where it's supposed to be.
Now, you took the dog to the vet,
Yes.
and the vet told you that the dog's leg was broken and needed surgery.
It needed something more than, say, a cast, yeah. So it's going to be expensive.
So can you tell me why you didn't tell the vet to take care of the dog?
It wasn't my dog. I didn't want to make any decisions on it. Spending a couple $1,000s. I asked him if he could do anything for the dog. Like, he gave the dog some pain medication. And I said, probably the owner will probably come back here. I'm not going to make any decisions or tell you to do anything.
Now, when you brought the dog home, where did you put the dog?
I think I just put him up in his room and closed the door.
Mr. Douglas says that when he came home, the dog came limping down the stairs. Had you opened the door?
No.
How did the dog open the door?
The time that I went to the vet and came back, the other roommate had come home.
And?
Maybe he went up and looked at him and left the door open. I don't know. Or maybe the dog didn't come down like he said.
Well, you were there.
Yeah.
Well, did the dog come down the stairs or not?
I don't remember.
Mr. Whalen, did the vet indicate to you that the dog should be kept immobile until the decision was made about what was going to happen with the leg?
He said it was a pretty severe fracture.
Did he say that the dog should be kept immobile?
I don't remember hearing him say that, no.
Do you think it was a good idea, Mr. Whalen, if the dog had a severe fracture, to put the dog back in its cage when you brought it home instead of just putting it in the room so it wouldn't be walking around with this broken leg? Wouldn't that seem like common sense?
Yeah, I guess the dog could have been in the room just lying there, too.
Could have been, but as you said, the dog was untrained. Dog's not as smart as people. You put the dog in the cage, they can't walk around and further aggravate the break. So why didn't you put the dog in the cage?
I don't know, I just didn't put him in there. I put him in his room and I closed the door.
Your claim, Mr. Douglas, is that Mr. Whalen purposefully caused injury to your dog.
Yes.
That's the basis of your claim. If it was merely an unforeseen accident, he would not be responsible.
Right.
So I have to make a judgment as to whether I believe that Mr. Whalen did, in fact, act in such a reckless manner with your dog as to make him responsible for the vet bills. You understand that?
Yes.
I believe he did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
This is case number 175 on the calendar in the matter of Crothers versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Crothers, the defendant is your ex-boyfriend. It is your claim that on 3 separate occasions he caused damage to your leased car. You want him to pay for the damage.
Yes.
He says, I don't know what you're talking about. Right?
Correct.
When was the first time he caused damage to your car?
It was about the first week of July. We were living in our apartment.
July of last year?
Yes. We were arguing, and he left with my keys so that I couldn't go anywhere. It was like Friday night. And I had an extra set of keys, so I left. I went to the house that he was at.
And an extra set of keys to your car?
Yeah, he took the set of keys to my car and the house key, the apartment key. And so I went over there, and he got mad, and he went into his car, and him and his friends had left, and they were driving around the town, so I was following him because I needed my keys to get back into the apartment. And I followed him. We went into a parking lot, and he got out and kicked the side of my car because I was following him. He was mad. And so I went back to the house. I tried to get out of my door, and I couldn't get out of the door. And I seen that he kicked the side of my car, and then he kicked the front. There's like a hairline crack on the front of the hood.
Right. And then you all made up?
Well, because we were living together.
Then you made up?
Yeah.
And you continued to live together?
Yeah, because we had an apartment lease.
It's not because you had an apartment lease. You made up?
Yeah.
And then when was the next time he caused damage to your car?
We were at our apartment, and I came home from work, and he was leaving, and I was mad because he was leaving because our daughter was there, and I yelled at him down the balcony, and he got mad, and he took his car and ran right into my car.
Say what you
on
yelled to me.
purpose.
So he ran into your car. What kind of damage did he cause that time?
I have pictures if you'd like to see them.
Let's see damage number 2 first.
That's when he backed his car up and ran into it on purpose.
And when was the next time he damaged your car?
There's a place called McKinley where everybody hangs out.
Date?
It was about the 3rd week of July. It all happened in July.
It all happened in July. You were all still living together. So after he backed into your car, you continued to live together.
Yeah, because I couldn't get a lease. I still had to pay for an
Don't tell me you
apartment.
continued to lease. You continued to live together. You made up. You came home, you had a fight, but you made up.
Yeah, and then we were.
Yes.
He left.
All right. And then we have another one in July. What happened the last week in July?
I couldn't find him that night, so I knew where he was at this popular place, and so I went up there, and he threw a 40 at my car of beer.
He threw what?
A 40 of beer.
40 ounce beer.
Yeah.
He was probably drunk on all these times he ran into my car.
And what happened as a result of that?
We had an argument, and I left and went back to the apartment.
When did you finally separate from this gentleman?
Last November, I
So
moved
you
back
stayed
with my
with
parents.
him August and September and October, and November you left.
Yeah.
So, did you have the car fixed yet?
Not yet, because I don't have the money. He was supposed to be giving me money each week.
Let me see the rest of the damage to the car.
And I have an estimate, too.
This is where the 40 went on the car? And this is where he kicked the car?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's hear you. Let's start with the first incident in July.
All right.
You took the keys. She got her own keys. She came to find you. She shouldn't have done that, but she did it.
Yeah, and she chased me.
And she chased you.
Yeah, she's a little bit crazy.
Because I needed my keys.
I don't want you to speak to him. Should have left the door open.
All right.
Give me, you should have needed your keys.
And then once we got to the parking lot where she pulled up behind me, this is how she messed up her own car. She put up behind me and she was like, what do you think you're doing? Who you got in the car? I was like, don't worry about it. Then she pushed her car on the back of my car and pushed her car like this. After we went back, because after we left that place, we went back to the house that we was over at. Then she tried to get out her car and her door would not open. But what she did was try to force herself out of it, and then that's when the door was like that, from the fender being pushed back a little bit.
Are you
messed up
telling
the
me,
fender.
Mr. Smith, that you did not kick her car
I did not kick her car, ma'am.
on that occasion?
On that occasion, I did
All
not
right,
kick her
let's
car.
go to the 40-ounce beer bottle. You did throw that at the hood of her car, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, okay, 40-ounce bottle of beer. I figured you did. And you did, in fact, back your car into hers.
Yes. Not purposely.
But
Yes,
you
you
did.
did.
Shh, just a second. But you did.
Not purposely. But yes, I did.
I don't care whether it was purpose. That's what an accident is.
Okay.
That's why they don't call it an on purpose. They call it an accident. All right?
Okay.
So you admit to these two.
Yes.
Yes, but not the first one.
Correct.
I believe you. Let me see the estimates for the two.
It's
This
all
one-
on one.
Well, I'm going to take off for the first one.
If he did those other two, then don't you think he would do the first one, too?
No, I think that if he denied doing all three, then I might have a problem. But he doesn't. He admits to two of them.
Because
See, the reason
just
why
not the first one.
If I ran into his car, he would have had damage to his car.
Well,
and
you
don't have
did
any
do damage to my car. You threw a rock
No,
at
there's
my
not.
car.
Hey, don't fight with each other.
And also, the reason why I threw the beer bottle, she came and brought my little daughter up there on McKinley and just dropped her right on the ground, told me
Yeah,
to
'cause
come
you don't
get
know how
her.
to watch her.
But you don't do that to a kid, especially mine.
Bird, would you do me a favor? Are you used to looking at these things from body shops? You ever seen these things?
I've seen some.
You see, this is what he's responsible for. He's responsible for this, and he's responsible for this.
Then also, she also claimed that she was going to pay for my car also. I haven't received no money.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
what did she do to your car, sir?
I have a Beretta. And on the back of a Beretta, you have a plastic thing where you got your name of the Beretta. She threw a rock and broke my plastic off of there. Cost $379 to get fixed.
Did you get it fixed?
No, I didn't. She told me she was going to pay for it.
Did you counterclaim for that?
No, I didn't.
So that's a nice story.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Heather Crothers says ex-boyfriend Terrence Smith vandalized her car 3 times.
These three?
Those 3 figures there.
All right. The damage that I find him responsible for is $310.81. Now, you have a child together?
Yes.
How old?
16 months.
Is that your only child?
Yes.
Child live with whom?
Lives with her.
Do you visit?
Yes, I do.
Don't pay
As a-
child support.
I fell behind because I lost a job. I used to work with her father until we separated, so had to go find another job. And then she got child support on me, with child support my child. Then I got terminated from that job, but I just started up another job last week. And I'm going to get caught up on my support. But it's like I have hard times trying to go pick up my daughter from her. That even, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago, I had to go over to her house and had to call the cops over there because she wouldn't let me use the car seat.
Why won't you get your own car seat?
I didn't have a job at the time.
Hey, let me give you a piece of advice. You picked him to father your child. You picked him. Now he's the father. So you're not supposed to say nasty things about each other.
In front of our daughter, correct.
You're not supposed to do that at all.
Yeah,
Because
she
that
does
doesn't...
that all the time, the
Just a
N-word.
second. Okay, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have been smarter. Mr. Smith, before you make a baby with somebody, you're supposed to know all about them because then you are joined together for a very long time. And if you picked somebody who's got a nasty attitude, which is what you're suggesting, then you picked her, just like she picked you.
Correct.
But right now you have a child, and you're not supposed to do anything to make the child miserable. You understand?
Yes. The only day that he wants to ever pick her up is Sunday, and he has to go out on the weekends, which I don't think is fair because I have her all week, and then he just comes to get her on Sunday, which I can't go do anything.
I even got my...
Just a second. Why don't you stop being a baby?
I need time to myself, and he has all the time in the world to
It's
himself.
all about you.
Just a second. Why don't you stop being a baby?
I am.
You are a baby.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. If he wants to pick up his daughter on Sunday, that's when he wants to see her. He's supposed to work Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday. That's what he's supposed to do, right? He comes, picks up your child. If you work, which I assume you do, is that
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yes.
And somebody takes care of the baby during the day?
My mom.
Very good. So you see her when you come home from work?
Yes.
You see her in the evening?
Yes.
You tuck her in at bed at night?
Yes.
You see her in the morning before you go to work?
No.
Well, that's too bad. Why don't you see her every day, 6 days a week?
Yes.
Fine. One day he gets to see her. So you have your nails done on a different day. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $310.81. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If she wouldn't be so childish, maybe everything would have been better in our relationship, but all the driving around, crashing cars, it's all childish games.
He's the one childish. He goes to the bar Friday, Saturday night, didn't come home till 3 o'clock in the morning.
I should have been a little bit more of a man, thought about her thoughts, but at the same time, she still shouldn't have been crazy towards me.
And now the next case.
All parties on Wilson versus Watson. Step forward, please.
51-year-old operations coordinator Mary Wilson and her daughter, 19-year-old Natalie, are suing 39-year-old executive director of a home for single mothers, Teresa Watson, for the return of 2 months' rent.
Mrs. Wilson, I assume this is your daughter?
Yes.
Your daughter has a baby.
Yes.
And there came a time when you felt as if it was in everyone's best interest, I assume, for your daughter to enter a residence with her baby.
That's correct.
And you signed up for the defendant's residence. You have a transition housing?
Yes.
For young mothers and their babies?
Yes.
It didn't work out. Your daughter left before the agreed time for her to stay there, and you want your rent deposit back. And the defendant says that your daughter actually left owing her money.
Yes.
When did your daughter enter the residence?
The 1st of March this year.
How old's your baby?
He's 11 months.
And what was the rent each month?
$350.
And how long did she stay in the residence?
1 month and 3 days.
And how much had you paid altogether?
$700.
So far, is all of that correct?
Yes.
Now, she left once the second month had already started, so I see you prorated the rent and you want $315 back.
That's correct.
Now I'll hear you.
Sisters by Choice is a tenant-landlord relationship, so therefore you are required to have a rental agreement and you are required to submit a 30-day notice. Natalie had been talking about a 30-day notice, however...
Do you have that contract?
Yes. The evening that she left, a lot of the paperwork that she was asked to complete was removed with her, but I do have an acknowledgement statement stating that she would give a 30-day notice upon leaving with her signature on it.
Okay, would you take a look at this? Okay. Did you give them a 30-day notice?
No, I
Not-
had not. The night I left, they had thrown papers regarding rules and stuff and at 11 o'clock at night. And so when I had gone over the papers, I refused to sign only because I wanted my dad to look at them before I signed anything. My dad is an attorney, and I wanted to make sure that they were appropriate rules. And so when I refused to sign them, I had been told that I had an hour to get out because I refused to sign papers.
Who told you that?
I'm not sure if he's the coordinator or the director.
They wanted you to sign off on some rules.
Right.
Had you looked at the rules?
Yes, I had seen them.
What rules were particularly problematic to you?
Something about like 5 o'clock in the morning, you would have to do Bible study and stuff. And I just was like, well, that's kind of funny because when you have kids and you need that
You
time.
have Bible study 5 o'clock in the morning?
No.
5 o'clock in the morning. Do you have Bible study at all?
We have morning devotions that start at 7:30. However, all of the house rules she signed when she first entered the program.
Can I see them, please?
Yes. And it states that we are a Christian-based organization, and part of our policy is to have Bible study and attend Sunday service. The rules that she's referring to about not willing to sign was actually a warning because she broke curfew that night, and she was already at a probation period. And she needed to sign stating that she would not break further curfew.
What kind
and
of curfew
she refused.
what kind of curfew did she break?
As she said, she came in at 11 o'clock at night,
Where
and
was
the
her
rules
baby?
are 10 o'clock.
Where was her baby?
With her.
What were you doing out at 11 o'clock at night with your baby?
I don't ever remember even.
Try to remember. What were you doing out at 11 o'clock at night with your baby? Where were you?
I was currently with a friend, and I don't remember this ever occurring about
What do you mean you were currently with a friend? I'm asking you where you were that night at 11 o'clock with the baby, and what friend,
I was
male or
currently
female?
on base with my friend that I always went out with every day.
When you have a baby, you don't stay out till 11 o'clock at night. You stay home. And there must have been a reason why your mother thought that you had to be in a residence rather than being home. I assume that that was part of the problem. Is that a fair statement, Miss Wilson?
To some degree.
Of course. Now, your daughter called you sometime around midnight, April 3rd or into April 4th, and told you she wanted to come home. Is that right?
Actually, she told me she was being kicked out.
Okay.
And because of the fact that she was being kicked out and not giving 30 days notice because she wanted to leave is one of the reasons I'm pursuing the return of the rent.
Did you discuss with your daughter the fact that she had violated curfew?
This is information that is new to me right now.
Well, why did you think she was being kicked out?
I was told that there were rules that she was supposed to sign, that she wanted her dad to look at them first. And
Well, then
that
she gave you a big story because she's already signed all the rules, you see? These are all the rules right here. She signed off on each and every rule. What the defendant is telling me is that they wanted her to sign a statement that she would not violate the rules again by violating curfew, which she had done that night. And she took the paper and she threw it in their face, and they said, okay, you're out. Is that what happened?
Actually, we asked her to sign the paper. She said, I'm out of here. I didn't want to be here anyway. Approximately 2 weeks before then, I had given her a 30-day notice and asked her if she felt she wanted to sign it because she had been making statements, I don't like rules, I want to do my own thing, and that her parents basically forced her to come. And as you see, she started filling out the 30-day, and then the next day her mother came and said, if you leave here, I'm going to call Child Protective Services and it's going to be an issue. She decided the next day, okay, I'm willing to stay 6 months and get the help. However, the friend that she remains on base with every day, all day, came by, and they decided that it was appropriate to be out 11 o'clock at night.
You got it now? Do you understand? It wasn't house rules that she was being asked to sign. Your daughter entered this residence because this residence had certain structure that you felt as if she needed. Where does your daughter live now?
She's living in an apartment.
With her baby?
Yes.
Alone?
No, she's in shared rent.
With
shared
whom?
space with another couple and their child.
I don't know how long she's going to be at this place. You have a grandson or a granddaughter?
Grandson.
I suggest you stay close and not worry about $315. You've got bigger things to worry about. I think you know that. I'm just going to hear you very briefly. What money do you think she owes?
We watched Natalie's baby for 3 weeks while she was in school. That's not covered in a $350 rental. It's for the room.
Did you give her a bill for child care fees?
I explained to her mother the day after she came over, Natalie owe us for child care fees. She said, I'm not concerned about the child care fees. I said, well, you are responsible because you told me in the beginning that I will pay until she gets a job. So actually the $315 you need to get from your daughter because she owes us child care fees of $600.
Did you go to school?
Yes, I did.
Coach, just answer my question. You went to school how many days a week?
Here's the attendance sheet. It was not for 3 weeks.
I don't care how many days was it that you went to school?
7 days. The reason I didn't go to school a lot is because I would always complain to my mom. The babysitting was very poor and it was not on site. And
you got a problem. You have a problem. Deal with the problem. Put this behind you. Stop worrying about your $300. Your case is dismissed.
Yeah, this is case number 52 on the calendar in the matter of DeFrank versus Russell. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Frank, while you were engaged to the defendant, according to your complaint, you financed a car for him. He couldn't get credit on his own.
Yes.
The engagement was over. He left with the car, and he said that he was going to maintain the car, make the car payments and the insurance. According to you, he stopped making the payments on the car. You repossessed it.
I took the car back.
You repossessed
Yes.
it. And you want him to pay for his missed payments. And in addition, you said that when you got back the car, it was A, filthy, and B, the brakes were bad. So you want him to pay for the brakes and, I guess.
A window was off track.
What do you mean off track?
They had to order a part to put it back on.
Ah.
I have the receipt for that.
And then he has a cross complaint, which I will get to in a minute. When did you separate from the defendant?
October 2000.
And when did you repossess the car?
March of 2001.
And when did he stop making the payments?
He never paid the payment for November, and February he missed another payment, so that's when they started sending me the delinquency notices.
How many missed payments did he have?
2.
Is that right, sir?
I missed one payment in November, and I doubled up on it in February.
You did? You have proof of that?
I don't have it with me, no.
Well, where do you expect me to go to find it? That's what you're coming to court for. You're coming to court because she says that you missed payments. That's what this whole case is about.
I stopped making the payments because she kept threatening, I'm taking the car, I'm going to take the car from you.
When did you stop making the payments?
In February.
So you didn't make February's payment?
I doubled it in February. I didn't make March's payment.
Your Honor, I have the delinquency notice.
Can I see it, please?
Yeah. This is for November's, and that's when, for February, they were going to repossess it, so I wasn't aware of that.
Well, according to them, on January 19th, you owed him 2 payments.
I paid one on the 24th.
Of what?
Of January.
Show me.
I don't have my checkbook with me.
Well, then I have to take this as being accurate. Now, what are you doing with the car?
I had a friend of my mother's is taking over payments till he could get a loan.
So he's currently paying on it?
Well, he didn't pay on March. I didn't sell the car till, April, so I paid March also.
Let me see proof of payment for March's payment. $658.13 he owes you. That's as of January.
This was March payment, $331, and I have the right there.
$331 on March 13th. Okay. So that's what he owes you so far, $989. Now, you think he should also be responsible for repairs on the car?
Well, he had, he was supposed to take the loan. He agreed to it, and he never fixed. They were worn down to the rotors. I have the receipts on all of that. I mean, it was returned to me. I have pictures of how it was returned, when I picked it up, how...
I'll take a look at the photographs.
And then I had cleaned it up. I have pictures of that also, what it looks like afterwards.
He's a slob.
Mm-hmm.
So? He's a slob.
And that was, that's my car and how I got it returned. And I had to clean it up in order to sell it. And it was a lot of time for me.
He's a slob.
The car was fine when I had it. I mean, I got a letter 3 weeks after she had it.
Just a second. I'm not talking about the mechanics of fixing it. You have a car that's a couple of years old. Sometimes it needs brakes. He can break the window. was a mechanical thing that happened with the window. Is that right?
Yes.
It's a mechanical thing that happened with the window. All I said was he's a slob.
I cleaned out the car before I gave it back to her. I cleaned it out on March 6th.
Well, whatever. You don't get reimbursed for that, but you do get reimbursed, madam, for your car payments that you made. You were very fortunate that you got somebody else to take over these payments. And I hope it teaches you a good lesson. Do not ever finance a car for anybody. Boyfriend, fiancé, husband, child, nothing. If you finance something for somebody, don't treat it as a loan, treat it as a gift. And say goodbye to your money. Is that good advice?
It's very good advice. I'd like to talk to you later about a loan.
We've known each other a long time.
That's right.
Happily.
That's right.
Forget it.
Okay.
All right, so $989. That's on your side. Now, Mr. Russell, you have counterclaim.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your counterclaim. You want the return or value of a computer. Let's talk about the computer.
On June 8th, she gave me the computer as a birthday gift.
When was your birthday?
June 8th.
Okay, and tell me how she gave it to you.
We both went down to the store and purchased it.
What did you give her for her birthday?
Engagement ring.
That was nice. And when was her birthday?
May 19th. March 19th, I'm sorry.
March 19th. So she got the ring first?
Yeah.
And then she bought you the computer?
Yeah.
How'd she get it back?
On October 13th, I caught her with someone else, so she moved out. And the next month, she came and got her furniture. Now, if the computer is hers, what?
Just a second. That was in November. She came and got her stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So far, you still have the computer?
Yeah.
When did she take the computer?
When she came to get the car, March 7th.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's when, because I had a police escort, and when I went to go get
When you moved out of the house?
Yes.
You left the computer?
Because he told me that he had stuff to delete on it. He couldn't do it right away, so I'm like, you know what, I don't have time.
November, December, January, February, 5 months later, the computer's still at his house?
Well, because I had went away for a little while. I went back to New Jersey. I came back, and I decided to get my, that's when I found out about the repossession of the
He says
the
it was a
car.
birthday present.
No, I have the receipt right here.
I believe you have the receipt. He says you bought it for him as a birthday present. Let me see the receipt.
Might have been an assumption.
Just a minute. You bought the computer the day before his birthday. That's a coincidence.
But I mean,
That's a coincidence, and you left it in the house when you moved out.
Because he had stuff on the computer that he couldn't delete right there.
That's an hour. That's 2 hours. That's a day, not 5 months.
Your Honor, the MSN was under her name. I made the monthly payments on that for the online use, and she asked me to ask my new roommate, Matt, if he could put MSN under his name. If the computer was hers, why would she want him to put it under his credit card name?
No, I believe it was a birthday present, because it was better times. It was much better times.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carla DeFrank says ex-fiancé William Russell owes for car payments as well as damages to the vehicle. William says Carla won't return the engagement ring.
On one side, we have $989. That's on your side. On your side, we have computer. That goes back to you. Then you're suing her for the engagement ring, right?
That was because she took the computer.
But if you get the computer back, she can keep the engagement ring?
Yeah.
That's very, very nice of you. Great. So you don't want the ring back as long as you get your computer back.
Bad luck.
What?
The ring was bad luck.
Very. Perfect. Is that the ring?
Yeah,
Can I see it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's very pretty. Very pretty. He wants you to have it.
Thank you.
It's yours.
Your Honor, I'm also suing for the $2,000 on the car because I'm selling it to the new person, and the blue book is $9,000 to $12,000. I owe $14 on it. So for the $2,000, no, even if he
No,
wrote,
darling.
even if he had
No, darling. Did he have anything to do with finding a new purchaser for the car?
No.
You've sold the car. You came to a price with the purchaser. If you had the car and said, I want to sell it, and whatever the difference is he would be responsible for, then I would say you jointly get together, get the highest possible amount that you can for the car, and then if there is a shortfall, just like you were a bank, he would be responsible for that. But you can't do that if you found the purchaser. You got it? Good. That makes sense to you?
Makes sense to me.
Good. Okay, so the computer goes back to him, and you get to keep the engagement ring, which you could probably sell. Ordinarily, engagement ring goes back to the person who gave it to you. So I would say that if you're out of pocket any more money, what you do is sell the ring. Okay, now, you want to talk about any rent that you say she owes you, or you just want to forget that?
I want to talk about it.
You want to talk about it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We signed a year lease. She moved out October 14th, and the lease wasn't up till January 15th, and that's $325 a month as half the rent. For 4 months, it's $1,300.
When did you get a new roommate?
December.
So she moved out in October, and she paid October.
Yeah.
Did she pay any for November?
No.
She says she paid some in November.
No, she didn't, and she harassed my roommate about.
I don't care if she harassed your roommate. So far, she moves out in October, and if your roommate moves in December, that's at most 1 month that you're out, not 4. You're suing for 4 months' rent. You don't expect to get rent from her and your new roommate.
Well, she's harassing him for her security deposit back. She broke.
Just a minute. She has security deposit?
Yeah.
How much?
$325.
There you go. Leave the place in good condition. That way you have the security deposit.
But she wants that back.
Well, she's not suing for it. So, if you say she owes you for 1 month's rent for November, then you have her half of November's rent, right?
Yep.
Because you have the security deposit. Are you the new roommate? Be neat. What else?
That's it.
Did I resolve this? Wonderful. $998 judgment for the plaintiff. The computer is to be returned within 5 days. That's all. Be happy. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She owes somebody for her breast enlargement.
My breast already paid off.
Claims Stephen Rea, 45, wrongfully fired her as a live-in housekeeper. Stephen is countersuing for theft and making terrorist threats.
All rise. Order in the court, please. Your Honor, this is case number 313 on the calendar in the matter of Turner versus Rea.
Thanks, Bert.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Please have seats.
Ms. Turner, I've read your papers. It appears that you were hired by the defendant as a live-in housekeeper and nanny for his children. And after some period of time, you were fired. You want to be compensated for that. Mr. Rea has a cross-complaint because he said after you were fired, you purposely destroyed some of his property. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, Ms. Turner, I would like you to tell me why you think that you have a cause of action here. Did you have an employment contract?
Well, Your Honor, it wasn't an employment contract. What it was for me to live in with him. We were supposed to share everything equally. I have a young daughter. I was supposed to move in with Mr. Rea so he can go to work. During the day, I was supposed to watch his son. And during the night, if I wanted to get a job or go back to school, he would watch my daughter. That's how the situation was supposed to be. It was a split, equal situation, the whole thing.
You mean you weren't paid any salary?
I was not paid, no.
So, you answered an ad in the paper?
Correct, ma'am.
Did you speak to Mr. Rea when you responded to the ad?
No, I spoke to his daughter, Tammy.
That's you. Do you have a copy of that ad?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. It says live in, M parent, that's male parent, that's you.
Yes.
Seeks a female parent, that's you, to take care for 3-year-old and share cooking, cleaning, must be clean and stable. All right, and no salary was discussed.
No salary was discussed, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So that she was going to live in, rent-free, have her food, utilities, phone, and everything else paid for. In exchange, you were going to help take care of the house, and you were supposed to provide care for her child. You have one child?
Correct.
How old?
She just turned 1.
If she wanted to work in the evening. Was that the arrangement?
Correct.
Okay. And it didn't work out?
No. Well, when I talked to Tammy, I called the ad on a Tuesday. I called again on a Wednesday because on the voicemail it was a female's voice, so I thought the ad got filled. I didn't know it was her car phone. I called her again Wednesday. We talked. We arranged to meet that day on Wednesday. She came out and she explained to me the situation between Mr. Rea and his ex-wife.
she said that he needed someone to move in with him to take care of Tony because he needed to go back to work and daycare was too expensive. She said, when you move in, everything will be like a family. You're like a family. You're part of the family. We have cookouts. We have vacations. You're automatically invited. I was like, okay. She was like, yeah, we go to Jamaica, this, that, this, that. You're
All right, so it was going to be a more informal arrangement with no salary.
Correct.
Fine, but it didn't work out. How long were you actually there?
I was there for, Your Honor, for 9 days, 10 days.
9 or 10 days, relatively short period of time.
Correct.
And what happened in that 9 or 10 day period?
Well, the night I went and moved in with Mr. Ray, they were telling me over and over again not to be nervous, to relax, that if I wanted to do anything, I could. You know, they gave me the keys to the car. If I wanted to go out, I can go out. I stayed with them Monday through Friday. I did everything with the kids, whatever. Friday night, I wanted to take my daughter to her, godmother's house to visit. I went out. I came back around 11 o'clock. Went upstairs to talk to Mr. Ray and let him know I was home. And I went in there and he said, Tony's got a fever. That's his young son. I was like, okay. And he's like, and Tammy's coming to pick you up tomorrow. It's not going to work out. I was like, what do you mean? I don't want to talk about it. She's going to come pick you up and move you back to your mom's house.
Okay, let me stop there. What happened during that week, sir, that suggested to you that this arrangement wasn't going to work out?
Well, when we had talked to her originally, she's supposed to know that I expected somebody to be clean, somebody that could cook, somebody that knew how to swim. I have a 16 by 32 foot pool that my son loves. He's been swimming since he's been a year and a half.
Okay.
And if the weather is nice, he's going to go into the pool.
Okay.
All right, so that was the main concern there. If he was to go in or fall in, to where somebody could go ahead and come to his aid. In this case, she could not. And as far as the cooking, she was good at going at McDonald's or buying something from the store, already just about prepared with directions on how to, do it, throw it in the oven or whatever. The cleaning, I had to mention to her about the front bathroom, which was hers and her daughter's, about the rings in the tub. There was a high ring and there was a low ring. And I didn't feel
You weren't satisfied?
No, not at all.
So you told her that it wasn't working out?
Correct.
Did you give her any sort of notice when she was going to have
No,
to leave?
no, that's when the police came over to the house a few times. And they
Why?
informed me, well, because I called, I wanted her out of the house. And
Well,
that's
just
when I was
why
informed.
Let me stop you. If you told her it wasn't working out, why didn't you just leave?
When I asked him, because I told him, I said, Mr. Ray, I said, Stephen, how can you just tell me that Tammy's coming to pick me up tomorrow? My mother's renting out my room. I can't go back and live with her. Well, that's not my problem. I was like, what do you mean it's not your problem? And throughout the week, Tammy, when we got interviewed, Tammy told me that if I wanted to get a job or go back to night school, I could, or go to night school, I could. Throughout that week I was with Mr. Ray, I asked him if, I'm going to go ahead and get a job so I can get some money. Oh, don't worry about it. Stay a couple weeks. Get familiar with the house. I was like, okay. The next day I would say something else. There was a paper sitting there. I was looking at the paper. I got up to get something. He threw the paper away. He did not want me to get a job for any reason.
Ms. Turner, it wasn't working out.
Right.
You didn't have an employment contract with him.
Right.
He has a young child, and he's allowed to say, for whatever reason, I'm not comfortable. You understand that?
Well, I went through all...
So, I'm going to come back to it. Why were the police called? Because you refused to leave?
No, I went through the whole situation with him asking that questions. I said, well, Mr. Ray, fine, I'm going to take you to court. When he said he didn't care. He said, you're going to take me to court? You're going to take me to court? He came at me and rushed at me. He pushed me. I said, okay, fine, I'm going to call the cops. I went downstairs, got the phone. I called the cops. He called the cops on his other phone. The cops came out there. That's why they came out there.
Okay. Why were the police called again?
The police were called out there because, number one, she would barricade my bedroom door, wouldn't allow me to go out, and as far as attacking her, that is an all-out lie. She would push on me. Now, what I did do was try to get by the door and turn sideways, okay, with the door casing to my face. And this is her so-called attack.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He got me in a situation where I had nowhere to go. I have a young daughter that I had to take care of. He made an accusation saying that I was going to burn his house down. I never said anything like that whatsoever.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony Turner says she was hired by Stephen Rea as a live-in housekeeper. She is suing for wrongfully firing her. Stephen is countersuing for destruction of property and making terrorist threats.
Ms. Turner, you do not have a cause of action because you do not have a contract. Just as, Ms. Turner, if you went to his house and you found that his house was a pit, dirty, disgusting, not a safe place for your daughter, you would have the absolute right to say to him, I'm leaving. Listen to me. You would have the absolute right to say, I'm leaving. Or if he turned out to be the kind of person that you couldn't live with because he was mean, nasty, irascible, whatever, you had an absolute right to leave. Similarly, without some sort of a formal living or formal contract of employment that says...
It was verbal, Your Honor.
No.
No, when I moved in there with him, my mom called me actually it was the first night I was there. She asked me when I was going to come out and get the rest of my stuff. My mom was renting out my room. He's like, oh, it looks like you're going to have to stay here. I was like, whatever. Okay, Your Honor, I was there. I did everything for Mr. Ray. I cooked, I cleaned. It was supposed to be a shared situation.
Turner.
The reason why I'm filing this lawsuit, Your Honor, is because he got me in a situation where I had nowhere to go. I have a young daughter that I have to take care of, and I had to call someone because the second night the cops were called out there, he made an accusation saying that I was going to burn his house down. I never said anything like that whatsoever.
Miss Turner, you're not following me. You knew this man for 1 week. He is not family. He is not, listen to me, he is not related to you. He was an employer. You made certain life's choices, which was you told your mother that you were going to be working here. If you were smarter, you would have said to your mother, and if your mother was smarter, she would have said, before I go and rent her room, I'm going to wait a month and see if this works out, because it may not work out. After all, my daughter and her year-old child are going to live with a stranger, and who knows if it's going to work out. He's not responsible for that, Miss Turner. Listen to me. You're not listening. You want to talk. He's not responsible for that. And if you had gone to his home and you found that he was some sort of a pervert, and you called your mother and said, listen, I can't stay here. I'm afraid for myself and I'm afraid for my daughter, he couldn't sue you for breaching a contract because you didn't have a contract. This is a life circumstance, and you have to be a two-process thinker, Miss Turner. If you go to work for somebody that you don't know, from an ad that you found in the paper, you say to your mother or wherever you're living, listen, I want to hold my room for a couple of weeks. Let me see if it works out. If it works out, I'll let you know. Then you can rent my room. Do you understand?
Correct.
All right. Now, let's talk about your cross-complaint. You say that she purposefully damaged your property?
Yes.
What property?
32-inch television set.
How did she do that?
Poured a bottle of beer in it.
Did you see her do that?
No, I did not see her.
Well, did anybody that you have here see her do that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Look, this is an unfortunate circumstance, but it happens all the time, Miss Turner. It happens all the time that you start a job and it doesn't work out.
But the 3-year-old kid, Your Honor, they said the kid was tormented. The mother left him 12 times. The first night I was there, the kid was calling me Mommy. They asked me if I had a problem with that. I said no.
What does that have to do with your lawsuit?
Because I got attached to the kid. He's going to ask me to leave. He knows I had nowhere else to go. He knew I had nowhere else to go.
Miss Turner, he's not your father. He's your employer.
Right, I know.
So you have to plan. How old are you?
I'm 19.
So you know in the future. It's a good lesson. And your lesson is, if you went into an employment agreement,
right,
you don't burn your bridges until you see that it's going to work out. You got it? Good. Your lawsuit's dismissed. Your counterclaim, sir, listen to me carefully. If you can't prove that you purposely damaged any of your property, your counterclaim is dismissed.
Well, I can prove that she was the last one with my digital mobile phone. Okay? I have a mobile phone bill. All right. Well, ask if she knows anything about the mobile phone before I go any further.
Oh, do you really want to go there? He said that we were going to go to Jamaica. I needed to call up to Michigan.
No.
I need to call up to Michigan and get my birth certificate. That's what I did.
How many calls did you make on the mobile phone?
I need 2. 2 or 3 to Michigan, because I needed to get a hold of my cousin so she can call the hospital so I can get my birth certificate to go to Jamaica.
Else on there?
I'm talking about the theft of the mobile phone. She was the last person with the phone. And also the spare battery and the charger is gone.
Do you have the phone?
No, Your Honor. The phone that he gave me doesn't even have a battery charger to it.
The digital, not the other one.
The phone you gave me just had, it's the little phone where you clip the battery in. It didn't have a charger to it. I gave that phone back to you. The police took it from me.
Which police officer took it from
you?
you?
The last time, the night before I left, they took it from me. I had to ask to use the phone. They came and brought the phone back to me so I can use the phone to call a friend of mine. They took it back from me.
So the police have it?
The police
Do you remember the name of the police?
Wrong. I have a witness to verify she was the last one with it in her company.
I'm sure he can get another one. He has several phones.
It's not the fact about getting another one.
What? Yes, you're the daughter.
I was on the phone. Oh, my name's Tracy, by the way, not Tammy. I was on the phone with her when they were arguing. He was like, give me my phone back. She was like, not until you give me my beeper, because he took her beeper
She had both of the mobile phones.
until she would give his mobile phone back. So I'm like on the phone arguing with her, trying to get her to give him the phone back, which I told her if you give him the phone back, he'll give you your beeper back.
Did you ever get your beeper back?
Yes. He threw it in the house. I was like, oh, you're going to throw my beeper, okay? And I was standing outside.
So what did you do with the phone?
He went and picked it up because I was standing
Just-
outside.
You said to her, he'll get the phone back when I get my beeper back.
Right. He gave me the beeper back. I gave
Fine.
him his phone.
Where did you put the phone?
He got it. I gave it to him in his hand.
I did not get it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She wasn't going, is what she was saying. She was going to make it miserable for me or whatever the case may be.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Tony Turner says she was wrongfully fired and evicted as a live-in housekeeper. Stephen Reyes says she stole and made terrorist threats.
Mr. Reyes, when she got back her pager, did you have your phone in your hand?
No.
Yes.
Why did you then, sir,
the
give her
pager
back
was left on the kitchen table. She snatched it off the table and had both of the mobile phones. She keeps referring to the regular mobile phone, which is outside right now.
That's
okay,
the phone
I'm
you
talking
let
about
me
the
use.
digital one that she had stole. All right. Now, she was in the kitchen with the regular mobile. All right. And while the cops were there, I said, "Look, that's my phone. I'd like to have it back." But she was playing the game with the phones before the way I didn't get them. But I never seen the digital after that. And she kept stating to the police she didn't know anything about it. But my neighbor was over at the house at the time with the kids in my child's room, with her ranting and raving, okay, with both of the phones. Now, after the incident, and I got the regular mobile phone from the cops, from her, I still had never seen the digital, and I had left and went over to my neighbor's house with my son. All right, because they said we need to separate or whatever. She wasn't going, is what she was saying. She was going to make it miserable for me or whatever the case may be.
Why don't I make it miserable?
But the bottom
Your
line
Honor, the reason why we had the mobile phone is because Stephen couldn't get his phone turned on in the house. So
What
therefore,
difference does that make?
He had his own phone, the digital, the more expensive one. He had himself. He gave me the little cheap
Miss
phone with the
Turner,
battery.
Miss Turner.
That's the phone I had.
You keep talking. Do you see my mouth moving?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have his phone?
No, I do not. The police
Did
gave
you?
it. I'm sorry.
Did you have his digital phone?
Not his digital phone. The one he let me use the day I moved in is the one I gave back to Mr. Reyes.
Now, the digital phone, when was the last time you saw that?
He had it.
When was the last time you saw it, is my question.
When we were outside. We were standing outside because the battery in the phone I had was going dead. And at that point, I said, forget it. He gave me back my pager. I gave him his phone.
Your Honor,
I was talking to Tracy and the battery
Mr.
was
Reyes,
dead.
it was a bad experience, sir. I'm not satisfied that you are going to be able to establish to my satisfaction by proof that I'm totally comfortable with. And as I said to you, it's very possible she has the phone.
Well, if my last call on my mobile phone bill is going to show a number that I don't even know the number, okay?
Was
it's
that
the number that she put on
just
this
a second.
piece of paper to
Listen
sue
to me.
Yes.
Was that before or after she was ultimately put out of your house? Was that number called
Before she was put out of my house.
Before.
Because I left my house to go to my neighbor's.
So
and
listen-
the digital phone
listen
was still,
to me.
Yes, go ahead.
Why don't you listen?
Because
If you had a bill that showed me that on the 1st of July she was put out of the house, and on the 3rd of July she made a phone call, you got a bill that showed a phone call that she made, I would say that's proof that she's got it. But you have a phone bill that says that the last call...
I have a witness.
Listen to me! That the last phone call that was made on that phone was while she was still at the house. Is that what that bill is?
Yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
Is it possible? Is it probable? Yes. Can you prove it to my satisfaction? Your counterclaim? I don't think so. And as far as your lawsuit is concerned, you got to learn.
Not even for the mental anguish, Your Honor?
What mental anguish?
What mental anguish?
What mental anguish?
I have a young daughter that I need to take care of. I was in a situation
You
where I did
worked
not know.
for him for a week.
Correct.
Good. Correct. How many times do I have to say it to you, madam? You're 19 years old. I know you're young. I know you have a responsibility. You have a child. Before you take, you don't want the full measure of what I have to say to you, or maybe you do. Before you take your year-old child into a household that you know absolutely nothing about. You don't know anything about him. You don't know anything about his daughter. You don't know anything about anything that's going on there. If you're smart and if you're responsible, you say to your mother, look, I want to leave the baby home for a few days, a week. Let me see what this is all about before I take my child into an unknown environment. That's what you do if you're responsible. But then you don't stand there like a crybaby and say to me, I have mental anguish. Of course, everybody who's fired has mental anguish. Think of all the people who were downsized, who worked for companies for 35 years, and all of a sudden, they come in one day, they get a pink slip, and they say, you're fired, we no longer need your services. Listen!
He wanted to have sex with me, and I refused.
Oh, you're full of baloney. You're full of baloney.
No.
This case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may
You're
step
a liar.
out. Come on.
You're a
You
liar.
going to jail, too.
Out the back door to your right.
I am
Out
not
the back door
going to
to
jail.
your right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, also 17, assaulted her, ripping 3 fingernails off. Alicia says it was a fair fight over concert tickets.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 293 on the calendar in the matter of Bigelow versus Ledger. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Miss Bigelow, you and Miss Ledger had been good friends. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your complaint is that she assaulted you, that it was an unprovoked assault and you were injured. You wanted to pay for all your medical bills as well as the pain and suffering that you sustained.
Correct.
So why don't you tell me how this happened?
Well, me and my boyfriend had bought tickets to go to a concert, and we decided to sell her a ticket because she was going to go with me instead of him, because she was my best friend. We ended up getting in a lot of arguments, and we decided we weren't going to be friends anymore. So I talked with her, and we agreed that she was going to sell the ticket back to me because she had paid $30 for it. But in the meantime, she had borrowed $20 off of us. Her and her boyfriend had borrowed $20 from us. So she was our friend. So I had talked to her, and I told her that since she had owed us $20, I would give her $10, and she could give me the ticket, and that would be even.
Miss Bigelow, don't make things up as you go along.
I'm not.
Okay? Because your complaint doesn't say anything about you discussed with her the $20. As a matter of fact, you said something about the $20 was owed to your boyfriend, not to you. So you never discussed the $20 with her, that you were taking it off.
Yes, I did.
Did she?
When we discussed it, she told me she would pay me $30 for the ticket. The debt was between my boyfriend and her boyfriend. It had nothing to do with me. So she decided she would give me $30. When I wasn't home, she sent her niece over and exchanged the ticket for the $10.
All right. So then you got the ticket back, right?
Yep.
For the $10.
Yep.
And then what happened?
And then me and my mother and my boyfriend arrived at my house, and there was a police officer there, and she just came over to the car and dragged me out and started beating on me.
And what happened to you as a result of this beating?
I got 3 of my fingernails ripped off because I had these acrylic nails on, and they ripped back and ripped my nails off. And also when the officer was pulling her off of me, she kicked me in my head.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Okay. When I found out what happened with the ticket, I called her.
When you found out that she picked up the ticket from your house,
right, when I
and
wasn't
only
home.
left $10, what did you do?
I called her because she was at her boyfriend's house. I called her and I said, what's going on? And she was like, you wait and we'll deal with it when I get there. So I waited at her house. I called my boyfriend and let him know what was going on. He called the police so they could solve it without, anything happening. So I was waiting there with the police. When she pulled up, we both grabbed each other and started fighting.
Could I say something?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to do this, but you can go over there.
When there was a debt between me and him that I owed him money, but it was and I was buying a ticket for her for an Easter present, and I had given the ticket for her for a present. And then when they left the $10,
This. I'm not interested in that.
all right, when they left the $10 at the house, then I was at my house babysitting my sister, and I couldn't go nowhere to find out what was
I'm
going on.
not interested in
So I
that. What
called
is
the
your name?
police.
What's your name?
Matt
Matt what?
Betancourt.
Mr. Betancourt. What city do you live in?
Fitchburg,
Where is that?
Massachusetts.
They must have a very, very large police department that has nothing to do. Because quite frankly, in this, the thing that I found most appalling is that the two of you called the police to meet you at a location, took them away from important business, over $20.
Yeah.
No,
But it wasn't only over that. It was because that she was
had me
mad.
jumped before. Okay.
Just a second.
So
I heard about that there was a jumping by an old boyfriend, but she wasn't with that boyfriend anymore. This is a court. I don't go into all that extraneous stuff. What I don't understand is this was over $20. You called the police as if it was an emergency. What did you tell the police when you called them, sir?
I told them that they were ripping us off and that she was really angry and I was afraid something might happen, that they should go down there before something does.
Okay. So when you called the police, you told them that you were getting ripped off, but it was a civil case.
Yeah.
You told them that you owed $20 and that you were afraid what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because your girlfriend was really angry.
Yes.
Were you lying to the police?
No?
Were you telling the police the truth?
Yeah.
So your girlfriend was really angry.
Yeah.
And you were afraid what was going to happen if the police weren't there.
Yeah. She
All
didn't get
right.
ripped
Now,
off.
very good. Now you can sit down.
All right.
Perfect. Did your job. Stand up. You're Mrs. Bigelow?
Yes.
You're her mother?
Yes.
So tell me what happened when you arrived at your house.
When I arrived at my house, we turned into the street. There was a cruiser parked there. Alicia was on our lawn, came running to the car, punched Sarah through the window. And then next thing I know, the two girls were out on the lawn, and she was beating on my daughter. Two other cruisers arrived and pried the girls apart, and Sarah had her fingernails ripped off and was kicked in the face, and they called an ambulance.
Go ahead.
The window was rolled up, for one thing. And it was. She opened the door and we started fighting.
What did you go up to the car for?
I don't...
Huh? What did you go up to the car for? You had the police there. You go over to the police and you say to the police...
I told them what happened.
No. You walked up to the car. If you weren't interested in a confrontation, you wouldn't have walked up to the car. You would have stayed back with the police. There was a cruiser there. You would say, could you please help me? This is a problem over $20. And in all probability, they would say to you, young lady, go home. This is a civil matter. Don't be here. You didn't even wait for the police to come in so that they could separate you. You went barging up right to the car.
The police were there the whole time, waiting with me.
The police didn't walk up to the car with you. Right?
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Young girls sometimes get very hot about former friendships, especially when boys get in the middle. Right?
Right.
Well, that's dumb.
And later today,
You went to the concert,
Yes, we did.
but then you had a surprise when you were there.
Jerry Seinfeld came out and he said that the jokes were on him.
He must have a lot of money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Two former best friends, Sarah Bigelow and Alicia Ledger, were fighting over money paid for concert tickets. Sarah wants medical bills, plus pain and suffering for Alicia ripping out 3 of Sarah's fingernails.
Now, Miss Bigelow, you did a real stupid thing. Really stupid. You knew it was wrong to send over the $10 instead of the $30.
Mm-hmm.
You knew it was wrong, and if you didn't know it was wrong, I'm here to tell you you were wrong. Your mother will probably, I hope, will tell you that you were wrong. She was wrong. She got involved with these two buttes over here and what they owed each other. Right?
Right.
Well, that's dumb. And I can understand that you were angry. I really can. I can understand that you felt as if she didn't give you what she was supposed to give you. You used to be friends. Young girls sometimes get very hot about former friendships, especially when boys get in the middle.
Can I say something? I did not tell her to wait at my house.
I didn't say that to you.
No, I know.
I
but
said
she
you
said
were
that.
wrong for dropping off $10 and taking the ticket when she expected $30. That doesn't excuse your behavior.
I know, and I understand.
And you were hot. And you were hot even after you spoke to her because the answer that she gave you was not one that was satisfactory, as a result of which your boyfriend called the police, and according to him, he said, you better be there because my girlfriend is very hot and very angry and I don't know what's going to happen. Right? How much out-of-pocket expense did you have? Did any insurance cover this?
Yep, some of them, not the ambulance bill.
How much was the ambulance?
$322.50.
And the rest of the bills were covered?
It's a copay, Your Honor.
Well, the copay is 25, 25, and 25. So that's $75. So your total out-of-pocket expenses were, according to this, $397.50. The ambulance and the copays. All right. How long were you bandaged? I saw some pictures of you bandaged.
For about 4 months.
Your hand?
Yeah.
Is that from where the nails were ripped off?
Yeah.
They had to reinsert her fingernails back in because they were afraid that they wouldn't grow back because they had been pulled out at the roots. So they had to reinsert the nails, but because the acrylic was attached to her real nail,
They had to leave them on.
They had to leave them on. She was in a splint for a good 4 months.
You want to say
This just happened about 6 months ago, and a couple weeks after, I kept seeing her on the street. She would give me the finger with that hand, yelling at me, screaming at me, you know. She didn't have any bandages on her hand a couple weeks later.
We're talking here about something that caused a lot of pain.
I know, but if she's
a lot of pain, you have to pay for what you did. You don't do something like that over a $20 bill. You try to hold on to your temper.
And I know that, but the fight was mutual. Yeah.
No. She didn't go to your house. You went to her
We were
house.
next
You went to
door
her house.
neighbors.
Hey, I'm not going to repeat myself. Your boyfriend called the police because he was concerned because you were so angry. And when she pulled up in the car, you couldn't even wait to have the police actually there to resolve the issue. You went running up to the car. And you were so hot that you couldn't even control yourself. Well, you better learn to control yourself. You suing for $2,000?
Yes.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Excuse, you may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Her friendship wasn't really worth any of the problems.
I would never want to be her friend again. It wasn't worth it in the first place.
She does nothing but cause trouble.
And now the next case.
Parties on Young versus Adams. Step forward, please.
James Young bought Jerry Seinfeld concert tickets from Mark Adams. Seinfeld announced everyone would get their money back. The defendant, Mark Adams, got credit on his charge card, and the plaintiff, James Young, got stuck paying.
2 Jerry Seinfeld fans.
Yes.
Right?
That's right. Yes.
You, Mr. Adams, purchased, fortunately for you, 2 of the best seats in the house
That's right.
for Jerry Seinfeld's concert.
That's correct.
And then something came up in your private life, and you couldn't go.
That's correct.
So what did you do?
I ran an ad in the local newspaper, and Mr. Young responded and bought the tickets from me.
So far correct?
So far.
And you charged him exactly what you paid for the tickets.
Well, I charged him what I paid for the tickets plus the cost of the ad that ran in the newspaper.
That sounded fair, right?
Yes.
How much was the total?
$150, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Within a few pennies.
And you paid how much for the tickets, sir?
I paid $66 for each ticket, plus this is the receipt for the ad that was run in the paper.
You went to the concert.
Yes, we did.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, we did.
But then you had a surprise when you were there.
That's correct.
What was the surprise?
When we went to the concert, Jerry Seinfeld came out and he said that the jokes were on him, and he said he was going to give us our money back for the tickets. So
He must have a lot of money.
I think so.
I think so too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Morally, I should give him the money back. Legally, I'm not so sure. Which means that the law, sir, is an ass.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Young bought Jerry Seinfeld concert tickets from Mark Adams. Seinfeld announced everyone would get their money back. The defendant got credit on his charge card, and the plaintiff got stuck paying.
So what did you do?
On Monday, my wife, Deb, took the tickets back and we ran into a problem. I think my wife can explain.
When I took the tickets back to Ticketmaster, they told me that they could tell by the tickets that they had been charged and my account would be automatically credited. Then I explained to them that my husband had bought them out of the newspaper, and they said that we would have to go back to whomever we purchased them from to get the money.
So, Mr. Adams, you are in now the fortunate position of having received the $150 from the plaintiff for the tickets.
That's correct.
Which made you whole.
That's correct.
And you also got $132 credited to your account
That's
for the
correct.
tickets.
That's correct.
So now you're whole plus $132.
That's right.
And Mr. Young says that $132 should actually be his.
That's what he said.
Because he was the one who purchased the tickets. He was the one who went to the concert. So I would like you to explain to me your defense, sir.
Well, my defense is that when Mr. Young bought the tickets from me, we established an oral contract. He agreed to buy the tickets for the purpose of going to see Jerry Seinfeld. So when Jerry announced the tickets were free, that doesn't fall within the parameters of the original oral contract.
Which was just for him to go to see the show.
Go see the show, correct.
And you honestly, in your heart and mind, believe... I'm just asking you. Before we go at it, Mr. Adams, I'm just asking you whether in your heart and mind you believe that that is a legitimate defense to his lawsuit.
From a legal standpoint, yes, I do believe it is a legitimate defense. It may not be a moral defense, but you know, if he went to the show, he has a hole also because he saw the show. So, you know, where do we split the money?
Let us assume he went to the Jerry Seinfeld show on tickets that he purchased from you.
Right.
And instead of Jerry Seinfeld coming out and saying, look, the tickets are free, he said, I want everybody in the theater to look under their seat. Mm-hmm. And whoever has a big money sign under their seat gets a brand new truck.
Okay.
And Mr. Young looks under the seat. Lo and behold, he's got the Jerry Seinfeld money sign under his seat. Who has a right to the truck?
I suppose Mr. Young does.
Why is that?
It was under his seat.
It was under his seat that he purchased from you. So he got a little bit more than he bargained for.
Exactly.
Well, under the scenario, Mr. Adams, that we have here, it's the exact same thing. He got a gift. He purchased your interest in those tickets. And whatever flowed from that, including our imaginary truck or the gift of these tickets are free. Mm-hmm. And under your theory, you should get your money and this little extra bonus. So, Mr. Adams.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Your Honor.
Well, you want to try again to explain it to me? Maybe you can convince me, Mr. Adams.
I'm saying, isn't there a happy medium here? I mean, he already has the whole.
You mean
plus
like being a little bit pregnant?
He wants the show for free.
Right.
He wants the show plus the money.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what would have happened if you went to the show.
But that didn't fall under the original
Just a
oral
second.
contract.
No, what you're saying is you had an oral contract with him which said you go to the show and that's it. And that wasn't your oral contract. You said, here are the tickets. You're buying the tickets. And you want a happy medium. You say, I'll split the money with you. Is that what you're saying to me? Isn't there a happy medium?
Well, perhaps, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
What you said before, sir, was very telling. You said before, I believe I have the right legal position. It may not be the right moral position.
Exactly.
But it's the right legal position. Okay. And I like to believe that whatever is right morally is also right legally. That's what's wrong with this country's legal system. We've engrafted too many little problems onto the law, which makes it less moral than it should be. So if in your head and heart you say, this is the moral right thing to happen, morally I should give him the money back. Legally, I'm not so sure, which means that the law, sir, is an ass. Did you ever hear that expression?
No, I haven't, Your Honor.
Well, it's an unfortunate expression. And in this court, the law is not an ass. So, Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $132, which is the amount that your credit card was credited for this free concert. Good going, Jerry Seinfeld. Thank you.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your
Judge
right.
Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
You're not being particularly useful. Sit down.
no place for dad in the court.
Somebody that takes a car from a daughter is pretty low, Your Honor.
That's also very helpful, Mr. Tholen.
Judge Judy Justice.
It has a message to deal with morality, and he won. What more can I say?
Well, I thought she made the right decision. I mean, I bought the tickets. They were my tickets, and I should have got the money back.
We're still great Seinfeld fans, and I think justice prevailed.
Eight-year-old medical receptionist Marquita Gaines for selling his tools after he got kicked out. Marquita is countersuing for abuse and slashing her tire.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 334 on the calendar in the matter of Gaines versus Gaines. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat. Ma'am, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Gaines, you've been married for 16 years. According to your papers, you are in the process of divorcing. You have children together. How many children do you have?
2,
How old are they?
12 and 17.
You are suing your wife, sir, because you say that she sold some of the tools of your trade
Yes.
after you left the house.
Yes.
What tools do you say she sold?
She sold a generator, a wet and dry vacuum, and an air compressor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a carpenter, construction.
Now, when did you leave the house, sir? What year?
97, I believe it was.
What month in
1997.
97?
I don't know, February, January. I'm not sure of the month. Well,
I
exactly.
guarantee you she knows it to practically the second. When did he leave the house?
July 31st, 97.
Women always know.
That's right.
July 31st, 97?
Yes.
Order.
And when did you go back for all this stuff?
Maybe I was coming in and out in that house, like living there sometime. And then we get into it. I'd be put out. The police come. So actually, it's hard to say. I know when I did actually went to get it out of like 7/10 of 98. I know that's when I pursued to go over there with the police officer. And when I went to go get it with the police officer, she told the police officer she didn't want to deal with that right now. So after that, I had to leave because there was a restraining order against me. But I went at first I used to try to go over there and get it without the police officer. But and then when I would go over there, she would say to me that, well, sometimes you're just trying to be nice because you're trying to get your belongings, which that's what it was. I was trying to get my belongings.
Smart. He's smart.
So, so that didn't work. So being that didn't work, I kept maybe giving her money, kept going. We done, how can I say this?
Was he coming back and forth during that year?
He was coming to visit the kids, take them to church and stuff like that. I asked him to take the tools out of my garage. So
when did you ask him to take the stuff?
About a month or two after he left.
Okay, so
and then I said,
a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago. I said, well, won't you come get your stuff? I have nowhere to put them.
You remember that?
Yes, I remember
Okay, go ahead.
He said he had nowhere to put them, so I said, fine. So they stayed there for a while, and eventually I needed some money, and I sold the tools to pay some bills and buy some food. And then when I told him about it, he said, okay, that's fine, I understand. Now I'm here being sued because
when
he
did
doesn't
you tell him that
understand.
you had sold the tools?
I told him I sold the tools in August.
August of 98.
98.
She told me the reason she sold the tools is because she was getting evicted, not because food and bills. She said, I was getting evicted. That's why I sold the tools. Matter of fact, I believe it's down.
Second.
Oh, okay.
She said she was getting evicted because she didn't pay rent.
That's a bill, right?
That's a bill.
That's what I thought.
Now, my question to
Okay,
you,
well,
Mr. Gaines.
I was just saying her words was
Actually,
she said she was getting evicted to make me feel like, well, that's okay that you sold that.
Ah.
Because I would feel like, oh, well, the kids, I don't want them out in the street.
Okay, now, Mr. Gaines,
Well, I'm just telling you the way I felt about that. Okay.
one of the things that your wife says, and you seem to acknowledge in your complaint, is that you stopped paying child support. You stopped giving her money.
No.
Just let me read what it
Okay.
says. My children are very important to me, and when I stopped giving her money, I gave only for my daughters. She got mad and said I couldn't see them until the year 2000. So there came a time when you stopped giving her money.
I never stopped giving her money.
Are you under a court order to pay her a certain amount of support?
Yes.
How much?
I believe, because I have other kids, I believe it's like $6 something, but I think the court, it says on the paper $800 and something, $804 a month.
Well, the fact that you don't know how much you're supposed to give her every month, sir, suggests to me that you don't write this check out religiously.
Well,
because I
it-
guarantee you this, most men and women who pay child support or a bill, like rent, they know their rent is $432.64. Their mortgage payment is $1,375. So if you wrote this check out every month for the last year, you would know exactly what your child support is. So there came a time when you were not
They
paying.
automatic takes it out of my check. I don't have to write a check. It automatic comes from my check, and my check stubs is right here, if you would like to see.
I sure would.
Even when I'm on unemployment, it takes it out. So I don't have to
How
write
many
a check.
children do you have altogether?
4.
Well, do they take out for which children from your check?
Well, she, I believe, actually the only one asking for child support.
What do you
Besides
mean you
her-
believe?
Well, for a fact, her and I have a 20-year-old daughter that I might be paying some back pay on that. But the other daughter, the girl works, she didn't go at child support.
All it says here is they take out $204 for support.
Right.
Do you get that money?
$204 a week. I got that for about up until I think the last check was the end of September or something like that because he quit his job.
No, I lost my job from dealing with her for as believing that she was like, we were still like talking. Like I said, I was still going over there, spending the night. And then one night I happened to catch her with her and her friend. And I said, she's not getting no more money. I'm not going to take care of you and your friend.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you slash her tires?
No.
Did you get somebody else to do it?
No.
But you broke a window.
No.
Come on.
Well,
Fess up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eugene Gaines is suing his estranged wife, Marquita Gaines, for his tools. Marquita is suing Eugene for a broken window, slashed tire, and stress.
I assume that all of the marital property will be resolved in the course of your divorce proceeding. You must have certain things in the house, furniture, appliances, and all that other kind of stuff. You're in the process of divorcing now. That stuff is going to be separated and cut in half. When did you buy this stuff, this wet, dry vac air compressor generator?
It's been about a year. For the generator, but the wet and dry vac, I think it's like the air compressor. I think I had it for maybe 2 or 3 years, or maybe even longer. I'm not sure exactly.
But you bought it during the course of the marriage.
Yes.
Well, you've been married 16 years. None of the stuff was 16
Yes.
years old.
Yes.
So, in this jurisdiction, all that stuff is part of marital property. So she sold it, and she may be required to pay you half of the value of the property. How much did you get for it?
Altogether, about $900.
What do you mean about $900?
I sold one for, like, one item I sold for $150, another item I sold for about $600, another item about $200.
You want to show me something?
Yeah, I want to show you what I paid for just the air compressor alone that she got only $900 for. And here's the receipts to what the generator and the here's the receipt for the generator. That's the generator there. And here's the receipts for the air compressor and the wet and dry vac.
Sir, listen to me. You listed in your complaint Generator $800. As it turns out here, it's $699. So it's $100 less than what you said in your complaint, right? Then you have something listed, a wet and dry vac for $140 is your receipt, right?
Right.
And you listed $150 for that in your complaint. So far we're down $110.
Okay.
Right? Then you list the air compressor, $354. As a matter of fact, that was $309. Right?
Right.
Okay. So she's not far off. She sold it. You list the whole thing as $1,300. You take off a couple $100 that you padded on your complaint.
No, it's not that I did pad
That you
it.
should listen to me. That you padded on your complaint, and it comes down to $1,100 that you paid for it. She sold it for $900. I think she got a pretty good deal. This was all used equipment, so half of that is $450. Now you have a cross complaint.
Yeah.
Let's deal with your cross complaint. Say he broke the kitchen window in your house. Cost you $55.80 to fix it. How did he break the window?
He broke the window with a pole or a brick. I'm not sure what he broke it with because I wasn't at home when he broke it.
Well, who saw him break it?
He told me he broke it. I asked him why did he break him. I asked him why did he break my window. He said I thought you was with another man.
When was this?
This was in September or the end of August, about
of '98.
Yeah.
And when did you have this conversation with him?
Over the phone that same night.
You called him or he called you?
He called me.
And what did he say?
I thought you was with another man because you said you were going to take the kids somewhere because you left so fast and you were so nice to me. I was trying to get him away from my house because I was sick and tired of him. And so he left. He came there that morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, threatening me he wanted to come in and talk. I said no. He started picking up leaves and raking grass and doing all kind of stuff. He threw his keys on the top of my roof and said he was going to get me back one way or another. Get the divorce and going through all this stuff about what he didn't want, what he wanted.
Okay,
and
what about the slashed tires?
There was a police report about the slashed tire. The first time, because this happened twice, the first time he let the air out of the tires. And he told me, well, I'm sorry, I was mad at you, because he asked me to move back home, and I said no. And so he said, well, I said, why'd you cut my tires or let the air out of my tires? Well, I don't hate you, because if I did, I would have cut your tires. And I said, yeah, fine. I had to have AAA come put air in my tires. Then, about a couple of weeks later, when he got upset about something else happened, he apparently either had somebody puncture my tire or he did it himself.
How do you know he did it? I mean, other than the fact that you think he did it.
Other than the fact that he told me did it is the statement he made before saying that if he hated me, this is what he would have done.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question. I know the answer. Did you slash her tires?
No.
Did you get somebody else to do it?
No.
But you broke a window.
No.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You broke a window. I believe her when she said you had that conversation with her right after the window was broken. I believe her.
No. Oh, okay, go down.
I believe her. Come on.
Well.
Fess up.
No, I didn't break the window.
Well, maybe you had somebody else you were
I didn't
with
break the window. I can say
So
that. I didn't break the
you,
window.
You personally
Did not break the window.
You personally did not break the
Thank
window.
you.
Just a second. Just a second.
Okay.
Listen, did you hear what he's saying? He personally, with his own hand,
Yeah.
did not break the window.
I understand that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your tools were not your tools. Your tools
My
were marital tools. Marital tools, sir.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Eugene Gaines is suing his estranged wife, Marquita Gaines, for selling his tools. Marquita admits to selling some of the tools, but says he doesn't pay support.
He's charged for the window. How much did it cost you to fix the window?
$55.80.
Okay.
So what's with the with her being able to say can I like showing you all the money that I did give her for his like when she said like the restraining order saying for me not to come over when I went over there with the police, have my witness right here, when I went over and tried to get my air compressor out the garage, well when I tried to get my belongings out the garage with the police, she said she don't want to deal with that right now, but she had a restraining order. I did it every way that
Mr.
possible.
Gaines, listen to me very carefully. You're not following what I'm saying, sir. What I'm saying to you is I am charging her for half of your property because your tools were not your tools. Your tools were marital tools. Marital tools, sir. Just because she's the one that uses the microwave in the house doesn't mean that microwave isn't marital property. And just because she may be the only one that uses the stove, that doesn't mean it's not marital property.
Okay,
your tools were purchased during the course of your marriage and therefore are marital property. She sold them. She's being charged for half of them, $450, from which I am deducting $55 for the window that got broken. Now, the only other part of your lawsuit that I am probably going to dismiss summarily, Mrs. Gaines, is you are suing him in addition to the window, etc., and the tire, which you have no proof that he actually broke, that he actually slashed. You're suing him for $2,000 for stress. Listen, if we allowed those kinds of suits in matrimonial actions for stress, we would have courts running 24 hours a day. That's why people get divorced.
Thank you.
You understand?
Yes.
Now, do you think you suffered any stress that was different from most people's stress when they decide to get divorced?
Yes, I do.
Well, let me hear about it. Who are you?
I'm her mother.
Betty.
And I'm a witness to some of the events.
She's going to tell me the worst part. Sit down. And then,
Okay.
Just why don't you sit
Right.
down? Go ahead.
When I have to leave my job because he's calling, harassing, threatening, breaking in my home, and doing all these things, and I can't leave to come to work because he's let air out of my tires, you know, that, besides that, wasting 16 years of my life with this man, you know, was not even enough.
Ms. Gaines, let me tell you this.
Laugh at that.
Everybody who gets divorced, who's been married for a decade, almost 2 decades, says, why did I waste my time with this guy? The best 16 years, I looked my best, I was my freshest, my skin was the best, my figure was my best, and I wasted it on this schlemiel, right? You understand?
Yes.
Most women who get divorced say that, and the reason that they say that they wasted their time, and stop fidgeting!
Okay.
The reason that men don't say that is because they can usually, I don't know, how old are you?
38.
38. They're 38 years old. When they're 40, when they're 45, they're still going to be able to find some young chippy who's going to find them attractive, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, women are not in the same kind of position. It's just the way things are. I'm working to change that.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
The truth of the matter is, he's going to go out and make another couple of babies, right? And have a whole new family. Right. And he's standing there saying, right, that sounds good to me. You don't get paid for that. What you do is you get smart. You get smart. You get out, you get smart, and you just move on with it.
Exactly.
So, good. $450 is what you're going to get for your wet vac. Less $55 for the window that you broke. It's $395. Is that right?
That's right.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Out the back door to your right, please.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Oh, he just told a bunch of lies, but that's okay, because I'm going to move on just like Judge Judy said.
What kills me, though, is when somebody says, for 16 years of wasting their life with my marriage, well, why when I go to Martinez that she always go to the restraining order side, but don't go to the side where you get a divorce?
I don't know. I have no idea. You know, I really don't know.
I'm the one pushing the divorce now. That's the reason she's getting papers to go to get a divorce, because I push a divorce, because I don't want to be married to nobody like that no more. I didn't realize how sick that woman is. Anytime you're going to sit there and tell me $2,000 for stress, the whole world is stressed. I mean, that is so crazy.
That's ridiculous.
I just think God is over.
Well, I witnessed him being outside the house trying to get in. because the police told me that's what he was trying to do, and they asked me, did he live there? And I said no, and they said, well, he said he lives here, and they found out that he didn't.
She's greedy, money
hungry snake. That's it.
She is.
Let's
She's
go.
greedy, hungry. I've never seen a woman that gonna sit there and try to say for 16 years, wasted her life. How in the hell you gonna stay in something 16 years and you'll figure your life wasted? That damn money kept you there. Something kept you there. 16, you can't figure, it took you 16 years to figure out this is wasted? Well, listen how that sounds. That sounds like somebody having problems upstairs.
They need to get rid of these old crazy husbands they got, if they got any.
I'm happy today. I'm glad. I'm so happy.
Drinks, cover charge, plus pain and suffering after they were kicked out of the strip club.
Order, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 317 on the calendar in the matter of Fridley Funky versus the Wild Boys Show Club. Yeah. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, gentlemen, have a seat.
You own a club.
Yes, ma'am.
And from reading between the lines in these papers, this is a male strip club. Is that right?
That's correct.
You two ladies were patrons at that club.
That's correct.
And had you gone there before?
That's correct.
How many times?
Ooh, quite a few times. As a matter of fact, I started going ever since I turned 18, which is around July. We're regular customers. And
I've been going for over a year, ever since they've opened.
We'll get to the lawsuit in a minute. Why?
it's fun to go, you know, for occasions, birthdays, bachelorette parties.
Okay. Your lawsuit says that on this particular night you went to the club, you were rejected for bad behavior. And you were rejected at a time that you were just ordered a round of drinks. You had $65 worth of drinks on the table. You want to be reimbursed for the drinks, for the cover charge, and a lot for your pain and suffering. So what time did you get to the club on that particular night?
Around 8 o'clock, Your Honor, when the club first opened.
Were you told that your behavior during the course of the evening was unacceptable?
No, Your Honor.
Never?
No, it's normal behavior of any...
Like what?
Like, let's say, for example, I was invited up on stage to tip a dancer. And at that point, he had moved his T-bar, and I sticked $1 in, and I was kind of dancing with him. And then as I stepped down off the stage, the manager, Shelly, grabbed me by the arm
Who's
and
Shelly?
took me.
This is Shelly, my
She's
manager.
right there.
Step up.
She grabbed my arm and took me down off the stage. It was, you know, completely humiliating. They never warned me to get down off the stage, you know.
Were you ever up on the stage before?
I've stepped up on the stage to give the dancers tips, just like I did that evening.
Well, you told me you did a little more than just give them a tip. You were up there dancing.
Well, yeah, you kind of move with the music.
Your Honor.
Okay.
It is
So-
posted outside of the door, all the rules and regulations as well.
What do they say?
The rules state that the ladies are not allowed to get up on stage unless directed to by a dancer.
Well, she says she was invited up on the stage by a dancer.
That's incorrect. Sebastian was the dancer in question.
You were the dancer.
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
You're Sebastian.
My name is Sebastian.
How long have you been dancing at the club?
Almost about a year now.
Okay. Do you remember what happened with this young lady?
Yes, I was on stage performing and I was dancing. The ladies came in with the party. When I was doing my performances, she came up and was to dance. There's 3 steps.
You went too fast for me. She came up and she what?
She was coming up to tip me.
To tip you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the ladies either stay on the floor and tip and I'll kneel down, or they come up the steps. There's 3 steps, and the 3rd step is kind of wide for them to stop. And so I opened my T-bar for her to tip. So when I opened it up, she proceeded to step on the stage, and she was going along with the music, trying to dance with me. I then kind of stepped away. I've been fined before. I've been fined for $1,000 for just grazing a person. So when she had her hands on me...
What do you mean? You're fined if you do what?
I've been fined before
For what?
For just my buttocks, grazing a woman's breast.
It was a undercover police officer. That was he was.
You mean you're not allowed to? The dancers aren't allowed to have any physical contact with the patrons.
They can. What they can and can't do. What they can do is the women are allowed to touch us on the pectoral muscle, down the stomach. They can touch our legs. They cannot touch our buttocks or our genital area. And his fine was because his buttocks touched one of the police officers on her breast, and he received.
How did that happen? I'm trying to figure that out.
Same here. You know, and the weird thing about that, Your Honor, is that we don't find out about the fine till like 3 months later.
Your behind touched the female undercover officer's breast.
I can give you a demonstration.
Just a second.
Things must be different in Tucson.
I can give you a demonstration of how that would happen.
I'm dying to see that.
Okay. Do you want me to do that with you or with...
Not with me, honey.
For instance, we'll move here, so I have a little more room. If I'm dancing and say this is the police officer that gave him the fine, this is what he is allowed to do. And she is allowed to touch him right in this area. She can touch him here. Now, once he goes to turn around, and this is what happens.
I see. No, go no further. Okay. So she was dancing with you, and you were moving away from her because you had gotten a fine, and she persisted to, and she was still dancing on the stage.
Yeah, she proceeded to get on stage, and she was touching me. By that time, the manager came and asked her to step down.
Okay. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Manager.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened when you asked her to step down?
I walked her down the stairs. I did grab her by the elbow and escort her down the stairs. I reminded her of the rules. These ladies have been coming to the club for a long time. A little while later, I had to remind Cassandra that she was not allowed on stage.
Well, who's Cassandra? That's you?
That's me.
Did you get up on the stage?
It was kind of.
The answer is yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so she went up on stage.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
A little while later, Mr. Valentine, Casey, came over and actually complained to me. Cassandra had grabbed his rear end.
Who was that?
Casey
That's you?
Valentine.
You were dancing too?
Yes.
Who grabbed you?
Cassandra.
Little one over here.
She had placed her hand on my butt, and I had explained to her, you know, you can't.
What'd you say to her?
I said, you know, you're not allowed to do that. 'Cause she's been in there before, and she knows the rules. She's been there for, she's been a customer of mine for at least a year and a half.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We've never had a problem
He
before.
says that you touched him.
She got there.
He says that you touched him twice.
Well, they're gonna say whatever they can
I
say
believe
for
him.
her because she's.
I
she's their
believe
boss.
him.
And later today,
It was a verbal agreement. It all sounded good.
No, it was a
I was
verbal
going
agreement.
to marry this idiot.
Shh.
real cases, real people, Judge Judy. Cassandra Fridley and Tara Funke say they were kicked out of the Wild Boys strip club without getting their drinks. Club owner Sky says it is their policy to remove customers who misbehave.
At what point did you ask these ladies to leave?
Right after Cassandra grabbed Casey Valentine's rear.
For the second time?
Yes.
Okay, and they had just ordered a round of drinks?
Yes, they had.
And you said just leave the drinks on the table?
Yes. Our policy in our club is when you're asked to leave, you must leave immediately.
Ladies, you broke the rules. What do you want? You having a good time? You broke the rules.
No, the rules were not broke. I mean, like we explained, we were going up to the stage to tip the dancers. We were not actually on stage. She guided me off way before I even had a chance
Let
to,
me ask you this question.
step
Let's talk about common sense.
down. Okay.
Okay? This is their business.
Right.
You are a good customer, right? She is a good customer. Why in the world would you think that they would ask two good customers to leave if you hadn't done something wrong? Give me a reason. So they don't like you?
No, I think it has to do with their manager. I mean, to be honest, we've had problems with her in the past. It's been kind of like a jealousy issue. And I think the guys are more afraid to, they have to go along with whatever she says because she's their boss,
Who paid your $1,000 fine?
I paid the $1,000 fine, ma'am.
Out of your own pocket?
Yes, I did.
Sit down. Ladies.
We've never had a problem
He
before
says that you touched
before
him.
she got there.
He says that you touched him twice.
Well, they're gonna say whatever they can
I
say
believe
for
him.
her because she's.
I
she's their
believe
boss.
him. Why don't you two ladies try a museum?
If
You have no case. Your case is nonsense. You went to their club. You didn't do the right thing. They had an absolute right to eject you. Once they ejected you, they made a determination that they didn't want to risk their liquor license or additional fines, and they chose to tell you, we don't want you to come back, which is their right. Get a life. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
We enjoy going to this club. It's a great club. The main point is that we like to go back. We just want to try to have a fun time, and I don't think, she has the right to pick on us. And of course, her dancers are going to stick up for her because otherwise they'll lose their job.
I feel bad because they're great customers. I've known them a while, but that doesn't give them a right to come in there and grab the guys, pull their T-bars down, and so on. So I feel like justice was served.
And now the next case.
Party's on. Johnson versus Bell. Step forward, please.
28-year-old bartender Stacy Johnson claims 27-year-old service rep Richard Bell owes her for her 800 phone line and rent.
Miss Johnson, you live in Colorado?
Correct.
And Mr. Bell, you had been living in Texas.
That's correct.
You met each other while you were visiting some family in Colorado?
That's correct.
Yes.
Spent a little bit of time together?
Yes.
According to these papers, reading between the lines, fell instantaneously in like.
True.
And you, Miss Johnson, did a very dumb thing.
Yes.
You gave him your 800 number.
Correct.
Now, did you go out and purchase this 800 number in order to give it to him, or had you had it?
I've had it for 2 years prior to meeting him.
Why do you need an 800 number? I'm just curious.
It was something the phone company gave me to switch to a long-distance service.
So you gave him the 800 number so that he could use it to call you?
Correct.
Which you did a lot.
Yeah.
Now, what did you say to him when you gave him this 800 number?
Call me when you need to, but don't call me too much because it's going to cost me money.
Okay. Is that what she said to you?
Yeah.
Call me when you need to. So you called a lot. And then eventually you moved back from Texas to Colorado. And you moved in with her.
No.
She says you moved in with her.
No. I moved with my mom. I stayed there occasionally.
How occasionally?
Twice, 3 times a week.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I brought him out here. He left me for another woman after the relationship deteriorated because he's basically a gigolo.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 28-year-old bartender Stacy Johnson claims 27-year-old service rep Richard Bell owes her for her 800 phone line and rent.
Now, you say he actually lived with you for about 2 months.
Correct.
Tell me how that came about.
From all the telephone calls on the 1-800 number.
All right, that he was going to come to stay with you.
To live with me.
To live with you. Tell me about your arrangement when he moved in.
Before he left Texas to come to Colorado, there was an understanding, an agreement between both of us where he said he would help me pay the 800 bill.
You remember that conversation?
Yeah, in full. It was to the point where the phone calls, they were wanted. They were accepted.
Well, I understand
they were
that, but did you have a
conversations.
conversation with her where she said to you, I'm getting my phone bills and I really can't afford to pay them?
No, it wasn't to that extent, no.
Well, what did she say to you, sir?
Basically, nothing as far as the 800 bills was concerned. It was just call.
Okay, and when you got here, what happened, sir?
Then the relationship began breaking up, and...
Okay, but before it actually broke up, she had a conversation with you about the phone bill when you were staying there 2 or 3 days a week?
That bill as well as other bills.
Okay, so there was a conversation about bills.
Right.
While you were still a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
And according to you, sir, what were the conversations about the bills? Let's start with the phone bill first.
How were they going to get paid?
And what did you say?
That I was willing to help.
So did you help?
Yeah.
How did you help?
Well, when I could, because when I first came here, I wasn't working. Therefore, I didn't have much money.
Well, according to both of you, this relationship, once you moved back, only lasted a couple of months. So you began working when? February.
Roughly through January, actually.
And you stayed together until February. You didn't move out until February.
Right.
So how much money did you give her towards the phone bill?
Roughly 100.
Roughly 100. That was a good number. Miss Johnson, let me tell you what your problem is. Even according to you, you gave him your 800 number and you did not have a contract with him. A verbal contract. A verbal contract would have been, Hun, because we really like each other, we want to keep this relationship going, and because you don't have a job, which was your first mistake. No job, problem. But you did it. I'm going to give you my 800 number. But if you use it, you're going to have to be responsible for the bill.
Correct.
Now, even according to you, you didn't say that to him. You said, here's my 800 number. Use it, but don't overuse it because it'll be a big bill. That's what you said.
He wasn't working. So therefore, I brought him out here. He left me for another woman after the relationship deteriorated because he's basically a gigolo. So
how much did this relationship cost you?
A lot. Would you like to see?
No, why don't you tell me?
Well, the 800 bill was $1,551. 3 months of rent.
Were you living alone at the time he moved out?
When he
to
moved
live with
in
you?
with me, yes, I was.
So it didn't really cost you anything extra. He just moved in.
Yes, it did.
What?
Emotional stress.
Well,
I know. But that was my own fault.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
There was never a set agreement. You move in here, Mr. Bell. I want you to come in here, and this is my home, but we're going to share the bills 50-50. At the end of every month, you're going to give me $200 for rent and $50 for this. There was never that kind of understanding.
Well, yes, there was.
Ms.
It was a
Johnson?
verbal agreement. It
To
all
what?
sounded good.
No, it was a
I was
verbal
going
agreement.
to marry this idiot.
Shh, shh. Miss Johnson,
Yes,
how old are you?
28.
Bad judgment. You didn't marry him. So the lesson cost you $1,000. Now, Mr. Bell, don't you feel as if you are at least morally responsible for some of these bills?
But we're not together anymore. Therefore, I feel like I'm not responsible for anything. I'm not responsible for a rent that she's paying. This is due
I'm
on
not
the
talking
first
about
of the
rent.
month. I'm not
Rent is
responsible
rent.
for anything.
Rent is rent.
We're not
I mean,
together anymore, so
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm asking you a moral. You
Well,
called her.
you couldn't be
Hey,
faithful.
don't talk to each other. I don't like that. I'm talking about a moral responsibility, especially since you're no longer together.
I'm not just going to leave her high and dry.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, I don't feel like I'm responsible for
The
the
phone
800
call.
billing. Right.
Why is that?
Because, I mean, it wasn't my decision to have her get the 800 number or even give me the telephone number to call her.
The number wasn't...
The number was established before me and her even met.
Right.
Therefore,
Miss Johnson.
Therefore, she can give the number to anybody and
No,
have
she
them
didn't
call.
give it to anybody. She gave it to you. And you used it a lot. You used to call her a couple of times a day.
Right.
Didn't you think that that cost money?
Well, yeah, of course.
So didn't you feel some sort of an obligation to say, Hun, I want to help you out with this phone bill
Right.
because it's my phone bill. If you call me, that's one thing. But if I call you, since I don't have a phone, I can't get credit, I can't do this and I can't do that, and you're so nice to me and giving me your card, I'm at least going to pay the phone bill.
I could not. I wasn't working.
Miss Johnson.
I paid what I could.
Yes.
Put a period and get on with it. You made a mistake. Your mistake was of short duration, and it ended up costing you $1,000. But this is not a lawsuit. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I felt that he owed me money, and he just left me high and dry for a drug addict.
Well, I still wish we could be friends, but it's evident that we cannot, so I'll leave it at that.
Terrible pictures at her wedding. John is countersuing Lorraine for breaking their contract and not paying him.
Order. All rise. Judge, this is case number 546 on the calendar in the matter of Mendez versus Barker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mrs. Mendez, the defendant was hired by you to take photographs of your wedding. You say that he breached the contract, that he took bad pictures, you want your money back. And he's counterclaiming because of some photographs that you have in a violation or a breach of an agreement that you had with him. So tell me why you want your money back, why you think you're entitled to your money back.
Well, first of all, I started planning my wedding in March of '98.
Just tell me how we, listen, I don't have time for the whole wedding plan. Just tell me, how did he breach your contract?
Well,
he came there, correct?
Yeah, he was late
He came
to the reception.
there, he took photographs, and he gave you photographs.
Right.
And your complaint is that they weren't good photographs.
Right.
Is that how you say he breached your contract?
Yes. When I called him back, I told him that we needed to come to some kind of compromise because the pictures were awful.
So your claim against him is that he took bad pictures, correct?
And he wouldn't enlarge them like he said he would as part of the contract.
His counterclaim is that at some point you said to him you weren't satisfied and you wanted the proofs. And he said you can have the proofs for 5 days.
That's
that right,
Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
To look at, to make a decision as to what pictures I assume you want enlarged.
That's exactly right.
Which is standard fare.
Well, he gave...
just a second. Which is pretty standard. And according to his counterclaim, you kept the pictures for 2 months, where you had an agreement that is signed that you would return them within 5 days. That's your counterclaim,
yes,
which we're going to get to in a minute. So first thing I want you to do is show me the pictures, because that's the basis of your claim against him. Show me all the pictures, not just a few, not just a few. How many pictures did you take, sir?
I took 172, Your Honor.
Okay.
Which this 100 was part of the contract, 72 he took on his own. And those are the 72 that he gave me and told me I had to return within 5 days.
She needs a variety of photos to pick her 100. That's why I didn't want to lock her into 100.
He's absolutely right. That's the way it goes. He says he'll give you 100 to choose from, but they take more so that you can have a lot more to choose from, so that you're not stuck with those.
And I called him on Friday to come pick up his pictures between 2 and 4, like he specified me a date to go and pick him up.
Just a second, you're talking too fast. Right now I'm looking at the pictures. These are the pictures he gave you.
Those and these.
Well, I want to take a look at all of them.
These are the 72 extra ones he took.
That's not completely...
No, he didn't take 72 extra. What he did was he gave you 172 pictures, Ms.
Right.
Mendez.
Right.
He gave you 172 pictures. He says, pick 100. These aren't the extras. Did you put these in the book, or did he?
He did. That's why I thought those were the main ones that he was going to...
So he put these in the book?
He organized
Right, Your Honor, but that doesn't...
All right, shh.
And this is the contract where he was going to enlarge them.
Just a second. He's prepared to enlarge them. He didn't return the pictures on time.
Well, I called him...
Just a second. I'll get to you. I'll call him.
The ones that are loose in there are the ones her mother took. And that was taken with a regular 35mm.
I don't see anything wrong with these pictures at all.
The background, and
I
they're
don't see anything wrong
off-centered.
with these pictures at all. They may not be perfect, but I
The
don't see anything wrong with them.
He didn't take a picture of the arch. He didn't take a picture of us eating dinner.
I have a picture of the arch, Your Honor. I can walk you through
Well, it wasn't in the book. And this one, as you see in there, is centered. The one that he took in the entrance is not.
Ms. Mendez, I just looked through that book. There were some lovely photographs in that book.
The main point was we took a picture in church, and that was supposed to be the most important thing. And if you see one of those pictures, there's this much room from the ceiling.
Your Honor, I have some enlargements right here that might give you a better idea than the proofs. Can I see them,
please?
And he stopped accepting my phone calls. He turned off his answering machine.
I see a lot of pictures in the church with you and the priest.
I mean, I can't go back and relive that day.
Ms. Mendez, these pictures, some of these pictures are lovely. I've looked at a lot of wedding albums because I had 4 kids who were married. Not all the pictures are perfect when they give you ones to choose from. But the ones that were put in this book seem very nice to me.
He didn't want to fix them at all. He told me no, all I owed him was $72. He didn't want to try to, I mean, obviously he knew no meaning of customer satisfaction.
Ms. Mendez, the issue is not whether you got perfect pictures of your wedding. The issue is, did you get reasonable pictures of your wedding? And these are most reasonable. I don't know what you're complaining about.
The
I
ones
really
that
don't.
her mother took with the regular 35mm film are not like that. You can see their faces clear. Those, you see, they're just ugly.
They're not ugly at all, Miss Mendez. They're not ugly at all. You look beautiful. Your husband looks beautiful. They have pictures of you smiling. They have pictures of you with your family.
And he was supposed to follow my mother's album book, like a storybook, and he did not do that. He took snapshots of, I don't know what. He had no organization whatsoever.
Miss Mendez, you know, one of the things that you just said to me was he didn't put them in the order that he was supposed to put them in pursuant to my mother's album. The album that he has, you take the pictures out, you take them off this order, you put them in whatever order you like. The thing comes off here. I mean, if you want to hear some very good advice, life is very short. If you allow yourself to be bogged down with minutiae from the very beginning, you're going to be a very unhappy person. Very, very unhappy.
But this is a wedding, Your Honor.
I want to tell you
This is the most
something.
important day of my life.
I want to tell you something. Life is not perfect. Generally speaking, these pictures are lovely. And it captures your day. That's what pictures are supposed to do. Stop being a baby.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have tried cases with photographs that were terrible. And I have awarded judgments to people when I say, my 6-year-old grandson could take better pictures than that. That is not the case in this case.
And later today.
Is that what you're asking me to believe?
Yeah, I'll just drop it.
No, I'm asking you.
No,
Are you asking me to believe?
My words.
No, I'm not twisting your words.
I'm trying to tell you how
I'm not
it was.
twisting your words, sir. I'm trying to come to the truth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lorraine Mendez claims photographer John Barker ruined her wedding pictures. John claims the pictures are perfect and he wants to get paid.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You want to pursue this counterclaim, sir?
Yes,
Or you
ma'am.
want to just say, forget it? You wouldn't have pursued this counterclaim had she not filed the action against you, is
That's
that
true,
right?
Your Honor, but I had to print a lot of extra photos, and I've had to deal with a lot of extra things that I don't normally have to deal with.
You mean print extra photos for what?
For today in court, Your Honor, and also, I mean, if anyone signs the contract and keeps the photos.
Let me see the contract, by the way,
months.
for the return. You gave her the proofs. Let me see the agreement that you signed.
This is the letter I sent them asking for that $72, and this is the contract that her husband signed, Your Honor, for the $72 for the proofs.
Her husband signed this.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't.
Right.
So what are you counterclaiming against her for?
I guess I can't. I assumed her husband would come with, Your Honor.
Well, did you serve him with your counterclaim?
No, ma'am.
Then I can deal with this relatively easily. He signed that he would return it in 72 hours. He didn't return it in 72 hours. If you want to pursue the $72, sue him.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it? So your counterclaim is dismissed. And Ms. Mendez, I've given you some very good advice for your whole life. If you get yourself bogged down in minutiae, things that are really...
No, he treated me like I was some little girl, like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Miss Mendez, if you get yourself involved with minutiae, you have lovely pictures and lovely memories of that day. They may not be perfect. It may not be just the photographs that you wanted exactly. It may not have been exactly like your mother's photo album. May not have been all these things. But if a grown married woman like you can get hysterical crying because the background was a little too dark. Now, I've seen photographs that are terrible. I have tried cases with photographs that were terrible. And I have awarded judgments to people when I say, my 6-year-old grandson could take better pictures than that. That is not the case in this case.
What about
These are
the
lovely
altar, though? What about
photographs.
in the church? I don't have a big picture that I can put up a 16 by 20 at my house that looks somewhat decent. I mean, her mom took pictures with a 35mm camera, and they came out so much better.
Then take one of her pictures
That's
and
what
blow
I
it
have
up.
to do.
And just a minute. Then take, if you like her picture inside the church better than the numerous pictures that I see here inside the church, blow up her picture and grow up. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I think the judge was right on. The pictures speak for themselves. The pictures are fine. She's got wonderful pictures of her wedding, and that's what we agreed on.
He wore a little press thing that said press, and it should have said idiot on it, because he didn't know what he was doing. He seemed so frustrated, like he hadn't handled a group, you know, a wedding so big. He was just a total jerk.
And now the next case.
Parties on Nelson versus Maloney. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Tanya Nelson claims ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Sheindlin Maloney, owes her for car payments, bail, and a birthday weekend. Sheindlin says he gave her his paycheck while they were together and calls it even.
Miss Nelson, according to your papers, you lived with the defendant for a short period of time. While you lived with him, you made certain loans to him. One was for car insurance, and car payments. One was for credit card, and the other was for, what, bail?
Yes.
Bail. Okay. How long did you know him before you moved in together?
About 3 months.
So tell me about these loans. Let's start with the car and the car payments.
Okay. I had made 2 car payments for him.
Why?
He asked if I would loan him some money, and he'd pay me back.
And how much were the car payments?
$200 each. The total was $400.
Okay. Did she, in fact, write checks for your car payments in the amount of $400?
Yeah, she did.
Okay. Now, what about the insurance?
The insurance, he, at the time, needed car insurance. He also was driving my car as well. So I had him added on to the insurance, and we agreed that he would pay his portion of it.
On your policy?
Yes.
Did you have that discussion with her?
Yeah, we sure did.
Okay. And how much was your portion of the insurance?
To tell you the truth, I don't know.
$746.23.
Is that his portion, or was that the total insurance?
That would be his half for the total amount of insurance that was paid.
Okay, so that's the car. Then you say you bailed him out of jail.
Yes.
And when was that?
May 10th.
What was he arrested for?
A DUI.
How much was his bail?
I got a bondsman that cost $161.50.
And did he call you from jail?
Yes, he did.
What did he say when he called you from jail?
He said, I'm down in Douglas County. I need you to come down and bail me out of jail.
Is that what you said to her?
About, yeah.
Did you expect to pay her back for your bail?
Yeah, I did pay her back.
You did?
He did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, all right, let's leave the car for a moment. Let's get to something that I can sink my teeth into. Bail.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Tanya Nelson says former boyfriend Sheindlin Maloney borrowed money to cover his car payments, bail, and a birthday weekend. Sheindlin says he paid his own way with his paycheck.
Now, what about the credit cards? You say that there's a bill of some $400 for credit cards.
Yes, for a weekend that we took. I charged a rental car, our rooms, food, everything, and when we got back, I'd add up the total and he would pay half.
Is that what your arrangement was?
Yes, it was.
And you talked about that?
Yes.
What was the total credit card bill for that?
$477.86.
And he was supposed to pay for half of that?
Yes.
Now, sir, you say you don't owe her any money.
That's correct.
Explain it to me.
At the time, I didn't have a checking account. I signed all my paychecks over to her to cover rent, all the expenses, the bills, you know, that kind of thing. Pretty much I just trust her with my money, which was kind of silly.
How much was your paycheck, sir?
$600-700 a piece.
Every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
We were paid at that time on a weekly basis.
Okay, just a second. Your financial arrangement with her, according to you, Mr. Maloney, was that you would turn over your paycheck to her. She would pay all the household bills.
Yeah.
And you must have had a certain amount of pocket money that you took out.
Pretty much.
How did you get your pocket money?
Selling cars. I sold one of my cars. Lots of different places.
So your arrangement with her was you had certain fixed expenses. You had rent, right?
Yes.
You had utilities.
Yep.
You had food,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did she have a car?
Yes.
And when you figured out the rent, utilities, and everything else, did you figure in your car payments?
Yeah.
Now, is what you're telling me for the time that you lived together, you never made any of your own car payments?
No, that's not what I'm telling you. We only lived together for about 3 months.
Right. Now, she's only claiming that she gave you money for 2 car payments. How did you pay for the car for the other month, according to you?
Well, sometimes I skipped months. I sold my Mustang, and I paid part of it off then.
That Mustang was not yours. That was your sister's.
Actually, it's a long story.
Okay. Now, all right, let's leave the car for a moment. Let's get to something that I can sink my teeth into.
Mm-hmm.
Bail.
Okay.
Now, bail is not a fixed expense that one has.
No.
Now, at the time that you were arrested for DUI, were you employed?
Yes.
And what month was that?
I believe it was March.
May.
Okay.
Were you working in May?
Yeah, I was working.
So you were working. And all the time that you were living together, you would turn over your check to her?
Yes.
No, it was not the entire time. It lasted for about a month.
Which month?
February.
And what happened in March?
Mid-March is when, actually, it ended because he suddenly just started lying to me about his money.
When did you go on this vacation?
The 13th and 13th through the 15th.
Of March?
Of March.
And at the end of that month, he stopped giving you the paycheck?
He lied and said he did not get paid.
Now, how long did you live with him after March, the end of March?
He moved out of the townhome about the first week of May.
And when was he arrested for this DUI?
May 10th.
Oh, okay. Do you have any proof that you want to show me, sir?
I don't know what kind of proof did you need. I mean, when you get down to it with like the whole credit card thing, you know, I told her I don't want to go on this thing. I don't want to spend the money. You know, it's nothing I want to do. I want to, out of this relationship, I want away from you.
Yes.
She convinced me to do that, so we went. She said she'd pay. That's great. You know, we went, and after that it ended. It didn't work out. And then I moved out of the house. You know, I continued to pay my share of the bills, my rent, that kind of thing, because even though I wasn't living there, I was still responsible for the lease.
But you were not living there after March.
Yeah.
And yet you called her in May when you were arrested.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Now, if you were not living in the house at that time, Mr. Maloney, how can you say, sir, that you were turning over your paycheck to her and that all of these bills, including your bail bill, she should have taken out of the money you were giving her?
Well, the thing was with March that you said. I didn't move out.
May.
You were saying that I moved out in March, but I didn't. I moved out in May.
You told
or whenever
me.
It was.
You told me that right after the trip, which was in March,
yeah,
you came back and you moved out.
It's a real weird situation. You want me to tell you how I moved out? Everything was still there. I still stayed there on the weekend.
Just a second. Mr. Maloney,
my family
if
was
everything was still there and you still stayed there on the weekend, are you asking me to believe, sir, that you continued to turn over to Miss Nelson your paycheck? Is that what you're asking me to believe?
Yeah, I'll just drop it.
No, I'm asking you.
No,
are you asking me to believe?
My words.
No, I'm not twisting
I'm
your
trying
words.
to tell you how
I'm not twisting your words, sir. I'm trying to come to the truth. Are you telling me that after you no longer were living full-time with the plaintiff, you continued to give her your paycheck? The answer is either yes or no.
That would be a no, but I did pay her.
I've heard enough. Do me a favor, Bird. Add up this money, will you please? $400. $746. $161 and $238. Grand total.
$1,545, Judge.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,545. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She'd came down to work a few times. She called, you know, she pretty much wouldn't leave me alone. I had to have her escorted out of my new apartment by the police. But other than that, you know, I'm a bad guy.
It was very generous and very giving, and he just took complete advantage of it.
Stay away from the crazy ones.
Year-old producer Christine Charbonneau says her relationship is over with 24-year-old trainer Bill Granderson. She wants the money back for a cell phone, stereo, and a transmission.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 331 on the calendar in the matter of Charbonneau versus Granderson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Charbonneau, according to the papers that I've read, you met the defendant in a gym where you were working out. Yeah. You worked there, sir, as a trainer?
Both.
Both what?
Sales and trainer.
Sales and training. You began a relationship that involved you giving a lot of money, things, credit cards, phones. The list is very long. And he giving a lot of himself. According to him. That's what you said. You gave a lot of yourself.
And my time.
And your time. Relationship's over, so's the money. He says that there was never an agreement with regard to the money. So let me hear what contracts you entered into with him to repay this money and what it was for.
I received a credit card in the mail. I was just going to cut it up. Bill said, no, why don't you keep it? You might need it for an emergency one day. And I said, whatever.
Was he there in your house when you got this credit card?
We were in my car. I got the mail out of my mailbox and just stuck it in my glove compartment. So I didn't think that he intended for himself to use it a few weeks later when he asked me to take him to a car place where his car had been sitting for a couple of years and it needed some repair work in it, a lot of repair work. And he went in, talked to the guy, came back out, and asked me if he could put the $1,600 charge for a transmission on my credit card. At first I said no. And then he begged me, and I had a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach about it, but I ignored it.
Always follow those pits.
Yeah, I wish I had. So
you did?
I did, and he agreed. Before I agreed to sign any paperwork, he said he would pay me back on March 28th. I said March 15th. He said, fine.
You would have been happy with May 1st.
How about now?
Okay.
So I signed the paperwork, and Bill made a payment. He made the first $40 payment on the credit card and then stopped. The total's now up to, with interest and late fees, it's up to almost $2,000.
Okay, so let's deal with one thing at a time. Mr. Granderson.
Yes.
What was your car doing in a shop for a couple of years?
Well, see, Your Honor, my brother passed away, and he left me this car. And it took me a while to repair it. Christine knew about this car, knew about the situation, and she offered to help me fix the car. The payment was because, see, personally, I didn't want her to give me this money. I tried to make payments back to her. But when it came to the end of the relationship, she became a little bit jealous and wanted more and started being a little bit more jealous and harassing me.
What is it that you are saying, sir? Are you saying you owe her the money or you don't?
I don't owe her nothing. She offered to give me this money because she wanted me to have my car, as well as the other things she's listed.
Just a second, we're not to the other things yet. So you say that this was not a loan, but a gift.
Exactly.
Then why did you make a payment?
Because personally, I don't like anyone giving me anything, so.
Perfect! What's next?
I had surgery on my arm on February 4th, a day surgery, and Bill agreed to pick me up and bring me to my friend's house where my dad was going to pick me up, bring me home for a few days. So Bill picked me up from the hospital. I was on narcotic painkillers, plus whatever they used in the surgery was still in my system. When we were driving away from the hospital, Bill commented that I looked high. And yeah, I tell you the truth, I felt pretty good at the time, didn't feel any pain. instead of taking me to my friend's house, he brings me to a local mall where his friend was working behind the cellular phone place and convinced me to give him a cellular phone. And to tell you the truth, I have the paperwork that I signed. I don't remember signing it. I do remember almost passing out at the counter. They had to take a chair from behind the counter and put it out there for me to sit in because I was just out of it. And Bill paid on it 3 times, paid the bill in full, and then just stopped paying for it. And
So
now,
did you cut off the service?
I was afraid that if I cut it off, that I wasn't going to see any money that he owed me.
So you let him continue to build up?
Until June. We signed up for it in February, and I just thought
So
it would
he
really
paid
make him mad.
February, March, and April?
Yes.
Did you pay for 3 months?
Yes, I did.
Because you don't like to take anything from anybody.
Exactly.
So what'd you do with the phone?
The phone, it's actually left in my desk.
Well, did you use it in May?
No, I haven't used it. It just sat there.
Okay.
She wanted to get me the phone for the fact that so she could keep further in touch with me.
Good, but you did pay for it.
I did pay for it.
You paid for it because you felt as if that while you were together, it was your obligation. Is that right?
Yes.
And if I follow your logic, you felt that once you were no longer together, then it was her obligation.
It was her idea. She could have came and retrieved the phone.
Your Honor, I went after him every single day getting money.
Let me see what the bill is on the phone, please.
There's one for $300, $150 early
Show it
termination.
to him, please.
$150 for ending the contract early, and then a collection agency came after me looking for $323.05.
For what?
In his phone calls, which I have record of every phone call that ever went out of that phone.
Ms. Charbonneau, let me tell you what I'm going to do with regard to this phone. You shut the phone off. You're going to pay for that, for the early termination.
Even though I was on narcotic painkillers and was signed up for it.
You
I
remember
have
that? Listen
the
to me.
doctor.
Listen to me. You remembered the chair. Well, then
And I was
you
like
you had the obligation, if you signed a contract under duress, to go the very next day or as soon as your mind was clear and say, I signed a contract under duress. That's all. But he's responsible for his own phone bills. You have to be a little responsible for your stupidity, right?
Yes. And
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wouldn't you think that someone had an infatuation for me? If she kept coming and harassing me at my
Would
job?
I think so? Looking at you standing there? Not a chance in hell.
And later today,
We always use the lady's credit card. Right? I know why.
I know.
Dumb.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Charbonneau says Bill Granderson owes her money she loaned him during their relationship. Bill says there was a lot of give and take.
What else?
I got a check in the mail for $1,250, and Bill said that he needed to get an apartment. He'd been living with people, living off of people, including myself, living on people's couches. And I agreed to give him the money. He promised me the following week he would give me that cash plus more for doing him this favor. I got the check, cashed it at a bank right next door to where he worked out.
How did he know about this check for $1,250?
I told him I was expecting a check in the mail. I get checks from, I work for a freelance company.
Why did you tell him that you were
Because I
expecting a
told him
check?
everything. We were really close at the time.
Okay, so you gave him this $1,250.
Yeah.
Did he pay you back?
Nothing.
When did you give him the $1,250?
February 21st.
And you terminated your relationship with him in June or May?
It started to go downhill in March. You know, there were other girls that were coming into his life, new girlfriend, and I just started, you know, my job started picking up, and we started to go our own way.
So why didn't you go after him for the money in February, March, April, May?
Because I was afraid of him.
Why were you afraid of him?
I was intimidated by him.
You mean emotionally intimidated by him, not physically?
A lot of both.
Why? Did he ever assault you? Did he ever put his hands on you?
He has threatened me.
Threatened you how?
In June, I brought him a phone bill and a credit card bill to his work. And I went down there and asked Bill if he would pay me one more time, and he was really furious at me for bringing it into his work, which I had on many other occasions. That's like the only time I was seeing him towards the end. And He's like, what's this I hear about you wanting to bring me to court? I was going to bring him to small claims court. I've been thinking about it for a long time. And he said, you can't get me on anything. He said, you can probably get me on the credit card, but you can't get me on the cell phone. You can't get me on the cash. I said, yes, I can, Bill. I said, it's called fraud. Cellular One has told me that I could take you to court on fraud charges. And he said, don't forget, I know where you live. And I said, you want me to go and tell your boss that you just threatened me? And he said, don't you threaten me. Don't forget, I do know where you live. I left there and went to the police station.
Bill, that has a ring of truth to it, what she just told me.
How does that have a ring of truth to it?
I believe her.
For what reasons? You didn't even hear my side.
I believe that she came to your place of business.
On more than one occasion.
I believe that she came to your place of business on more than one occasion in order to collect this money.
Collect what money?
The money that you owed her.
What money's this?
Well, let's start with the $1,600 that you originally took out to get the car.
I thought we were at to $1,200 right now.
Well, no, but when she came to your place of business, sir, she came not just for one thing, she came for all the money that she had advanced to you.
Do you think that's the only thing that she came to my job for?
Oh, probably not. You mean she came to your job because she still had an infatuation towards you and for you?
Well, wouldn't you think that someone had an infatuation for me? If she kept coming and harassing me at my job?
Would I think so? Looking at you standing there? Not a chance in hell. Let's get to this $1,250. Did she give you a check for $1,250?
I never received a check for $1,250.
Did you receive cash?
I received gifts. Never received cash.
I'm talking about money that she got from a check that she gave you so that you could move into an apartment.
Personally, I think she took the money and spent it trying to put the blame on me, Your Honor.
No, so what you're saying to me is that she did not give you cash. You never had a conversation with her about an apartment that you needed, and you knew she was getting a check.
When I did move into my apartment was July.
Okay.
Okay, and that was with not the money she gave me, because she didn't give me any money. She gave me gifts. She bought me boots. She bought me pants. She bought me underwear. But she never gave me cash and thing. She bought me a phone so she could keep in touch with me. She wanted to get my car out because she wanted to be a friend, as well as I was there many times for her and helped her train at the gym, spent my time there with her, helped her lose the 10 to 15 pounds, but she was overweight at the time when I met her. So I spent a lot of my time and effort. Do I sit here now and try to say, well, you owe me money for the personal training hours that I've given to you?
No, you got the boots, sir. You got the boots and the underwear. We're not even going to go into boots and underwear.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Is there any other reason why a normal person, I assume you think you're normal, would continue to pay on the credit card bills even after you separated from her? Just because you were being a nice guy?
Yes.
closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Christine Charbonneau says Bill Granderson owes her money she loaned him during their relationship. Bill says there was a lot of give and take.
Show me the credit card with the 1994 balance for the car.
This is the original charge of $1,600.
Okay, good.
And I have his $40 payment.
He admits that he paid once when he was having a lapse in character. Finance charge on this is almost 18%. Okay, now, what do you do for a living?
I work at a TV station.
What kind of work do you do?
Sports producer and stage manager.
And how long have you worked there?
4 years now.
College educated?
Yes.
Where did you go to school?
Boston University.
Good school. Intelligent? Got a good career?
Yes.
Should be able to tell a winner from a loser?
It was a low point in my life when I met him.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,567.05. That's all.
Please excuse you may step out.
She want the whole thing?
Here you go out the back door to your right, please.
How I had to spend countless hours, bringing this girl around who had low self-esteem about herself, as well about her life, didn't know what direction did she really want to go to.
My parents raised me with good values, and I like to think that everyone else has those same values, and I really honestly thought he would pay me back.
And now the next case.
All parties on Rose versus Olson, step forward, please.
48-year-old production manager Victoria Rose says former lover, 35-year-old computer designer Larry Olson, owes her for credit card charges on jewelry, cash, and topless bars.
We always use the lady's credit card. Right? I know why.
I know. Dumb.
You dated for a while. You have an ex-wife and a child, is that right?
That's correct.
According to you, you provided him with a credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
Bills mounted up. You say he owes you about $2,300 on those bills, is that right?
That's what we're going for here, yes.
He says you're only angry because he went back to his ex-wife, because he wanted to make a family. You went back to your ex-wife?
That's correct.
And that while he may owe you a little bit, he certainly doesn't owe you all that because a lot of them were joint bills. Is that your argument, sir?
That's correct. Plus, I made all the payments.
Well, was it your agreement with her that you would make payments on that credit card?
It was the agreement that we'd made, that I'd make payments on that credit card. Correct. From the beginning.
Okay, and you did, according
But
to
it
you.
wasn't supposed to be, the credit card was supposed to be to pay off a tax debt that I had. But it never happened. It
Okay.
became a credit card that we used to go out on all the time. We did everything together, and everything we did together went on that card.
How long did you pay all the bills on the credit card, sir?
Till up to a year ago.
And
When she
you were
stopped
living.
paying.
You were living together at the time.
Right. And even after we broke up, I was still paying on it.
Okay, so Mr. Olson, what you just said to me was you always paid the credit card while you were together. And even when you separated, the bills would come to you and you would make the payments on those bills.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And I assume you did that, sir, because it was your understanding with her at the time these bills were accumulated that they were going to be your responsibility. Otherwise, I don't see any reason why you would have continued to pay on the credit card after you separated. Right? I mean, is there any other reason why a normal person, I assume you think you're normal, would continue to pay on the credit card bills even after you separated from her? Just because you were being a nice guy?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
What bills are you actually suing for? What specific items are you actually suing for, Miss Rose?
It's attending what I consider nudie, topless bars.
Let me see the bills for that.
There's...
Did you go to these bars with him?
No, I did not. It was a bachelor party.
It was a bachelor party.
That's correct.
So they were not, this was not a joint bill. She didn't go.
No, I take full responsibility for that. Again, I made all the payments.
Yeah, but then you stopped.
I stopped getting the bills.
So is what you're telling me, Mr. Olson, because you stopped getting the bills, you stopped making the payments. But if you had continued to get the bills, you would have paid off the credit card.
I probably would have continued to pay, correct.
$1,390. What's that?
That's test equipment I bought.
Test equipment. What kind of test equipment?
I started a computer repair shop, and I needed that equipment to start my business.
So that's your bill.
Correct.
Okay. And the other thing she's suing for is service merchandise, piercing pagoda, $683.64. What is that?
It was Christmas presents. Here's the ring. I have other jewelry with me. I went with him. He asked me, which one do you like for Christmas? Okay. I picked it out.
Okay, so that was for jewelry that you picked out.
He didn't tell me he was charging me.
It was for jewelry, but you have that jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, so far your bill is $1,846.25. And I'm not counting the jewelry. She's got the jewelry and her memories. You acknowledge in your answer, Mr. Olson, that you owe her somewhere in the vicinity of $1,000. According to my calculations and according to what she tells me, you owe her more in the vicinity of $1,850. That's for the checks that you cash for your own equipment that she doesn't have, and this one or more bachelor parties that you went to, which she doesn't have the fond memories of that you do. So I'm issuing a judgment for $1,846.25 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excuse me, step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
only get your own bills, you know, get your own credit cards. Don't ever do this. Don't ever do anything jointly unless you're, you know, crazy.
It should tell every woman, do not trust anyone else with your credit card. No matter how much you think you love them, no matter how honest and trustworthy that you think they are, don't do it.